At News Headlines. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Well, a physician with Manitoba Health's immunization program is urging you to get vaccinated against measles. Dr. Devinder Singh says measles cases in this province are still steady and more vaccination is needed to limit the spread. So we're going to hear some data. How many cases have there been? That's coming up. As well, the mother of a woman killed in a highway crash near Portage la Prairie says bail reform will save lives. The federal government has tabled a bill making it harder for violent and repeat offenders to be released. So we'll hear some reaction to that in our next local news coming up at 6:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
0 right now at the Forks, but should be warming up today to about 10 and sunny. And a lovely weekend ahead. 16 is the high for tomorrow and sunny in Winnipeg, and 15 is the high on Sunday, also sunny. So should be a nice, lovely fall weekend ahead to, sit inside and watch baseball. Perfect. Looking ahead here this hour, 6:50, stay tuned because the CBC Marketplace investigation into this sort of medical misinformation that is spreading widely on TikTok. We're going to look into that with host Asha Thomason. She's going to bring us that story. As well, up first this next hour, on Information Radio, the oldest home in Winnipeg is now becoming a designated National Historic Site. So we're going to hear what that home represents for Canada. That's coming up after World Report. Stay tuned.
On cue.
Christian McBride is one of the greatest living jazz bassists. He's worked with everyone from Chaka Khan to Celine Dion to Paul McCartney. He'll be here to talk about his life in music, almost reuniting the Police and playing with the great Miles Davis when he was just a teenager.
The man was known for being pretty harsh with his opinions.
Q with Tom Power. This morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland. And on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm Idil Musa. U.S. President Donald Trump says he's calling off trade talks with Canada. It's all over an anti-tariff advertisement by the Ontario government running on U.S. networks. The sudden announcement could be a major setback for the Carney government, which has been striving to lower Washington's punishing tariffs. Katie Simpson has more.
High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries.
The offending ad features highlights of a 1987 speech by U.S. President Ronald Reagan, which makes the case against tariffs. After a complaint by Reagan's Presidential Foundation that Ontario did not get permission to use the audio and video, Donald Trump made his stunning announcement, writing on social media in all caps, "All trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated." He called the ad fraudulent and fake, accusing Canada of running the spot as a way to influence the U.S. Supreme Court ahead of a hearing next month that will determine whether most of Trump's tariffs are legal.
We've never had anything like it coming in because of tariffs. The money pouring into our country, the plants that are opening.
Ontario spent $75 million to run the ad on major American broadcasters. And the president says he saw it Monday night, likely the spot that aired during the baseball playoff game between the Toronto Blue Jays and Seattle Mariners. This comes at a pivotal moment in trade talks, a time when Canada had thought progress was being made in an effort to lower some tariffs, particularly on steel and aluminum. Momentum that is now stalled. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
The Toronto Blue Jays are heading back to the World Series for the first time in 32 years. The team won back-to-back championships in 92 and 93. And tonight, they take on defending champion Los Angeles Dodgers in Game 1 of the series. Jamie Strachan has more on how the team is preparing.
It's just really cool for the organization, and I'm just thankful and humbled.
Toronto Blue Jays manager John Schneider says it's natural for his team to be feeling some nerves ahead of Game 1 of the World Series, the first in Canada since 1993. Even though the Blue Jays won more games than the Los Angeles Dodgers, it's Toronto who are the underdogs.
I think the one thing we cannot do is look over there and say that is Goliath. That is a beatable baseball team that has its flaws.
The team's magical, unexpected run to the World Series has fans delirious. The Jays shop at the Rogers Center barely able to keep series-related items in stock.
You know, the World Series hat, I had to get this because, after the World Series, we're not going to know the next time the Jays are going to make it, right?
Players like Davis Schneider and Addison Barger are embracing what could be a once-in-a-career opportunity.
As long as you come prepared, I feel like the pressure will kind of go away when you're in the moment. It's great to have a whole country kind of behind you, and it's not just a city.
You don't know how many times you'll make it to the World Series in your life. Some people never do, so a lot of people never do.
On the eve of Game 1, an on-field visit from Prime Minister Mark Carney, who likes the Jays to win in 6 games, but no bet yet with U.S. President Donald Trump.
I think he's afraid to make a bet. He doesn't like to lose. He hasn't returned my call yet on the bet, so I'm ready.
First pitch is just after 8 o'clock Eastern, a nation of baseball fans sure to be watching. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is taking his first government trip to Asia to attend a set of Indo-Pacific Summit meetings. One of his goals is to expand export opportunities for Canadian industries. The CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian reports.
I've got the world's worst timed trip.
Prime Minister Mark Carney joking about how he'll be unable to watch the Blue Jays try to seal the deal at the World Series. Carney is headed to Asia with stops in Malaysia, Singapore, and South Korea, working on different kinds of deals. Senior government officials say that at the summit in Malaysia, Canada hopes to work on a future free trade agreement with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, with a goal to sign it by the end of next year. President Donald Trump will also be at ASEAN and at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in South Korea.
We are in frequent contact. Look forward to seeing the president in Asia at APEC.
Officials say Carney is aiming for a one-on-one with China's President Xi Jinping as he tries to thaw a frosty relationship with Asia's largest economy less than a year after a public inquiry into foreign interference found it meddled in recent Canadian elections. Something his predecessor Justin Trudeau tried in 2022 during an international summit in Bali, Xi berating him through an interpreter for details of their meeting being leaked to the media. Carney's team says Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand has just returned from a successful visit to Beijing, and he won't back down from defending Canadian democracy while pursuing a strategic relationship with China. Rafi Boudjikanian on CBC News, Ottawa.
Meanwhile, in China, the Communist Party is ramping up its technological rivalry with the U.S. It just concluded a 4-day meeting mapping out the country's priorities for the next 5 years. They include a focus on achieving scientific and high-tech self-reliance. This comes as the Trump administration continues to restrict Beijing's access to computer chips and advanced software. Lisa Xing explains.
As the Central Committee of China's ruling Communist Party wraps its 4th plenum, the party elite have mapped out the country's social and economic development for the next 5 years. In a communique released following the 4-day meeting, the party vowed to speed up self-reliance in technology and accelerate the country's green transition, key parts of its goals in its rivalry with the United States. In the past, these types of policies have cemented China's dominance in electric vehicle technology and rare earth minerals mining. The goals for the next 5 years are surely to draw the ire of U.S. President Donald Trump, says Jonathan Zinn, former China director for the U.S. National Security Council.
Even though that's going to inflame trade tensions with the U.S. and other countries, I think that she, number one, doesn't see that the resistance to it has been very meaningful. Number two, I think that he thinks even if there is a cost to pay, this is still the right path for China's economy.
Without naming Trump, the party said China faces profound and complex changes and increasing uncertainty. This message comes as Trump and Xi are slated to meet on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit next week, and as trade tensions have flared up again amidst a tenuous truce in Trump's trade war. Lisa Xing, CBC News, Toronto.
Britain's Prime Minister is expected to push Ukraine's allies for stronger measures to force Russia to end its war. Keir Starmer is hosting today's meeting of the Coalition of the Willing. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will be a part of those discussions. They include providing Ukraine with more long-range missiles, restricting Russia's access to global oil markets, and using frozen Russian assets to help Ukraine financially. Experts are warning people to not take medical advice they see on TikTok. A CBC Marketplace investigation revealed misinformation found on the app is getting worse, and recommendations in some viral videos about cancer and autism treatments can be fatal. Asha Tomlinson reports.
It still angers me that you see that level of misleading content.
Misinformation expert Timothy Caulfield is very concerned with the level of false and misleading health claims showing up on TikTok. We searched the platform to find videos about autism and cancer, then analyzed 200 of them served up to us featuring a cure or treatment. 80% of the content was not backed by solid science, and some videos featured dangerous therapies.
I've had patients in the past before they got to me who had severe speech delay that made great strides.
These questionable TikToks included this chiropractor promoting chelation therapy for autism. It's an IV treatment that removes heavy metals from the body.
Heavy metals are not a contributor to autism.
Autism researcher and pediatrician Dr. Melanie Penner warns against it.
There is a risk of death that comes with these treatments. We absolutely recommend against these treatments.
And there's a popular clip of actor Mel Gibson on Joe Rogan's podcast.
I have 3 friends. All 3 of them had stage 4 cancer. All 3 of them don't have cancer right now at all.
And what did they take? Ivermectin?
Fenbendazole.
Fenbendazole, yeah.
Ivermectin is an antiparasitic drug. Fenbendazole, a dog dewormer. Some accounts also discredit conventional treatment. Oncologist Dr. Abha Gupta.
No, it's complete garbage. There is no merit.
Mel Gibson and the chiropractor had no response. TikTok says it takes action when content violates its rules and warns users not to rely on it for medical advice. Most of the videos we flagged have now been taken down. Asha Tomlinson, CBC News, Toronto.
And that's the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Idil Musa. This is CBC News.
Good morning, Manitoba. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, and everywhere on the CBC Manitoba YouTube page. I'm Corey Funk, in for Marcy. Coming up this hour on the show, as you just heard in the news, a CBC Marketplace investigation into the sort of medical misinformation that is spreading widely on TikTok. We're going to dive deeper into that with host Asha Tomlinson. But this half hour on the show, the Toronto Blue Jays play host to the Los Angeles Dodgers for Game 1 of the Fall Classic tonight. We'll talk with a sports reporter to set up baseball's championship series. That conversation coming up at 6:20. But first, Winnipeg's oldest home that was once owned by an influential Scottish Métis family is being designated as a National Historic Site. Stay tuned. We're going to explore the 19th century home that's still making news. That's coming up on Information Radio. At 6:11, let's check in with Heather Wells with a look at news headlines.
Good morning. Well, Manitoba's healthcare system is getting a significant injection of U.S. physicians. Dr. Arlie Traynor arrives in Brandon's ER in February. She currently works as an emergency physician in South Dakota. Traynor was born in Manitoba and has family here. She says she loves that the brain drain is going the other way. 10 U.S. doctors have registered in this province since Donald Trump was elected. Manitoba's ombudsman has exonerated the former mayor of East St. Paul in a revised report about a conflict of interest complaint against the current mayor. That report takes another look at an East St. Paul council meeting in 2022. We'll hear some details coming up in our next local news at 6:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is Heather Wells at our CBC News desk. Let's say hello to the team this morning. Darren Morash is making us look good on YouTube. He's our YouTube producer. We also have Sierra Sanders keeping an eye on the commute. And we also have Abby Adeyemi, who's keeping an eye on the weather, which is looking like it's going to be a little more lovely than it was at least this week.
Yeah, yesterday we had a cloudy one, but today it's going to be more like a bright fall day. Plenty of sunshine I see on the way. Although we have to deal with a few fog patches this morning. That should lift as we get into the day, and then we'll see some light breeze through the day. The south warms up nicely while the north stays cool, but it's going to be clear up there as well. Winnipeg sitting at 1 at this time at the Forks under mainly clear skies, respecting a mix of sun and clouds through the morning. Those cloudy conditions will clear by the noon period. Then we'll see lots of sunshine. By mid-afternoon, we get to a high near 10 degrees, and across board right now, we're seeing 0 in Brandon and Dauphin. Gimli's at 2 degrees. Also expecting a bright day. Sunshine will dominate through the day. Highs will be between 10 and 12 degrees for those regions, while up north it's more cooler. We're looking at highs close to 9 degrees for the northern part of the province. Overall, Corey, I'll tell you, it's going to be a gorgeous fall Friday across the province. Clear, calm, crisp, plenty of sunshine to go around with the morning fog burning off. Winnipeg right now, we're at 1 and it's clear outside.
Thank you very much, Abby.
Thank you.
Sierra Sanders is in with a look at the commute. Hello.
Hello, Corey.
Hi.
Hi.
What's going on?
We've swapped
I know,
seats
it feels
today.
very strange, and like we're in this strange alternative universe.
Yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. So far, as we're kicking off the show here on this Friday morning, nothing major to report yet. But if that changes, and you're out on the roads, whether you're walking, biking, driving, busing, however you're getting around, would love to know what it's looking like there on this Friday commute. Give me a call on the CBC commuter line if something's getting in your way. 204-788-3093.
Well, up first here on Information Radio, the oldest house in Winnipeg is now a designated National Historic Site. The home once belonged to a prominent Red River Scottish Métis family and is now known as Seven Oaks House Museum, located at 50 Mack Street. So Tracy Turner is the curator and manager of Seven Oaks House. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So how does it feel for you to have the museum designated as a National Historic Site?
It's an incredible honor. It's something that's been in the works for a little while. It just really allows us to shed the light on this really important heritage treasure that we have here in the city of Winnipeg and for the province of Manitoba.
Tell us a little bit about the story of the house and what makes it so historic.
Well, first of all, I guess the claim is it's the oldest house in Winnipeg. It may be one of the oldest buildings in Manitoba. So it was established, we know for sure, by 1831. It could have been actually earlier. We know that the Inkster family was well established by around 1824, and they were settled in the region and farming in the Red River settlement. So it really illustrates, the depth of history and sheds a light sort of on the growth of the Red River settlement and of course the story of some prominent people that lived here. We know John Inkster. The story of John Inkster is told often, but we don't often hear a lot about Mary. And she was Mary Sinclair. She actually was. Her mother was baptized Margaret Sinclair. Her mother was Métis and in an Inuit ancestry, and her father was an important trader for the Hudson's Bay Company. So when we start to learn about the heritage of the family that lived there, we start to really see the story of early Canada, pre-Confederation, and understand sort of the growth of the Red River settlement. So there's a lot of history there to learn.
And when you think about the history of a lot of these national historic sites, often they're these big opulent houses. I'm thinking like the Dalnavert, for example, right? But this one actually, it's kind of it's a more of a, I say modest kind of working class home too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good one to contrast with Dalnavert. Yeah, it's interesting in the sense that the first home that they lived in was what we call a Red River frame home. So basically a log construction. And when you come on the site, you'll see the original home they lived in. Red River frame is, stacked logs that have been constructed, and we know that John Inkster built that as their first home for the family. Later, a portion of that home was cut off and moved to the other side of the new home, which was constructed in 1851. And at the time, the new home, which is what we call sort of Georgian-style architecture, it would have been considered a Red River sort of mansion for the Red River settlement. It's quite large, but it doesn't have that kind of opulence. It definitely is, more austere. But at the same time, they were a fairly wealthy family.
So I actually understand you kind of knew that this designation was coming since 2022, actually. But now you can actually kind of be more public with it. How does it feel to actually be able to announce it now? Especially, I imagine it must have been a lot of work to get to this point.
It was a lot of work for the board and, of course, the previous curator. I think they put a lot of the research in. Of course, these processes always take time, right? And so we've been sitting on this exciting news for quite some time, and we're really thrilled to be able to share it. I think it really allows us to, bring attention to this beautiful house and the stories that are in it. So it's exciting. It's really exciting. And unfortunately, like right now, it's the season when we're closed. So we can't wait till we open back up in the spring and to share the site with more visitors.
What changes now for the site now that it is a National Historic Site? Is it a funding difference, or what does that mean now?
Well, I think it's a few pieces, right? Number one, we'll have higher profile, right? To be a National Historic Site is it's a very important designation for a heritage site. It's not easy to get. So, it means we're of value. It means we have something to really treasure, but it also means we have something to really take care of. With that responsibility, often can come funding. Hopefully, we will, be able to work this new designation into accessing new funds for restoration. Older homes, obviously, they need a lot of upkeep, just like everyone's house, right? But houses this old need a lot of conservative effort to be maintained and to keep the finishes up, etc. So it'll help us, hopefully access funding for restoration. Other pieces of that, of course, are just allowing us to develop more programming and hopefully attract other stakeholders and interests for all kinds of opportunities. So it's sort of a multi-level thing, but it comes with it's an exciting opportunity, and it also comes with a lot of responsibility.
And before I let you go here, just yourself personally, what is it that you love the most about the home? Why is it something that you've decided to dedicate so much time to?
Right. Well, my career has been really focused on looking after historic homes and heritage properties. It's definitely of interest to me because I think homes are like they connect us with what's important about life. Really, it's about connections. It's about family. When you come into the home, you understand. This is a home that raised 11 children. This is a home that saw the birth of the first settlements in Manitoba. This is a home that saw Confederation, and this is a home that Duff Roblin sought to establish as a museum in 1958. So it's like this house tells the story of Manitoba and the story of the connections between immigrant families from the Orkney Islands to Cree and Métis families that are here. So it's the story is so broad, but it's such an important story for Manitobans to learn and for Canadians to have access to learn about.
Well, Tracy, thanks so much for your time and all the best.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Tracy Turner is the curator and manager of Seven Oaks House.
North of North is in fashion. literally. CBC and the WAG are partnering to present Crafted on the Catwalk November 4th, a fashion show featuring cast members of the breakout comedy displaying designer clothes from Manitoba and the North. Then shop for fine handmade goods at Crafted Show and Sale November 7th to 9th. Visit cbc.ca/Manitoba/community for more, including an exclusive North of North screening and meet and greet.
6:22 right now. Happy Friday. And if it feels like a bit of a different Friday than normal because maybe you're excited it's the end of the week, there's probably a little bit of nervous energy in the air as well because, of course, tonight is game 1 of the World Series and the Jays are facing off against the Dodgers. And we're going to talk about that right now because I think a lot of Canadians right across the country are feeling a little bit on edge. What is it going to look like? So tonight they play host defending champion Los Angeles Dodgers. And for more on this best of 7 series, we've reached freelance sports reporter Ed Kleiman. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Corey.
So, there's a good reason to feel nervous if you're a Jays fan going into this because, Blue Jays manager John Schneider said his team was ready to face, quote, what is on paper the best team in baseball, unquote. So how do the Jays and Dodgers match up?
Yeah, well, it's a tough matchup for Toronto. John Schneider wasn't lying when he said that. This Dodger franchise known as the Death Star team in Major League Baseball, 13 straight times in the playoffs, 12 as champions of the National League West, looking to be the first team in 25 years to repeat as World Series champions, looking for their 3rd title in 6 years. They've got the greatest player probably ever to play the game in Shohei Ohtani, a starting pitching staff that is historically dominant in the postseason right now. So tough matchup. But if anyone can give the Dodgers a problem, it's the Toronto Blue Jays. They're this throwback team. They don't strike out a lot. They play great defense. They've got some surprise stories on their roster, including this starting pitcher tonight, this rookie that's come out of nowhere to be this hero. I think the Jays have a very tough matchup, but I think the Dodgers have their toughest matchup if they're going to repeat as champions. So this is going to be really interesting. I think there are some scenarios where I can see, sure, the Dodgers roll over the Blue Jays like they have everyone else. I certainly don't see any scenarios where the Blue Jays roll over the Dodgers, but I do see scenarios where in kind of a tough, deep series, the Blue Jays pull off the upset.
So then what are the biggest challenges that the Jays will face with the Dodgers? If we kind of stick with the Star Wars analogy, we kind of got the Rebels versus, versus the Death Star. I'm guessing Shohei Ohtani would probably be considered Darth Vader.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, you want to talk about a baseball Darth Vader? Ask the Milwaukee Brewers about this. While everyone here was paying attention to the Blue Jays, the Dodgers were dusting off the team with the best record in the regular season, Milwaukee, in 4 straight games. And in that last game, Ohtani had what I think you can't argue against is the greatest baseball game anyone has ever had. 3 home runs, including the longest of the postseason by anyone. And he was pitching 6 shutout innings with 10 strikeouts. This is like Connor McDavid going out and having a hat trick in the first 2 periods for the Oilers and then going and shutting out the opposition because he's playing in net in the 3rd period. We've never seen anything like this from anyone before. And that's what the Blue Jays have to deal with Shohei Ohtani. And yet, following on him, 1 through 9, you've got a number of Hall of Famers in that lineup who can hit home runs and steal bases. And then I mentioned that starting pitching staff. We haven't seen anything like this in a generation. They deservedly are the Death Star team.
And you pretty much need the Force to pull something off like that if you're Shohei Ohtani. So what are the Jays' biggest strengths that could pose a threat to the Dodgers, though?
So this is why I think they have a chance. For the Dodgers, they have one weakness. It's their relief pitching. And they've kind of managed to not have that be an issue because their starters have been so good. Toronto, they are a contact team. They don't strike out a lot, and they can drive pitchers crazy by having these long at-bats. So I can see one of these unheralded players like Nathan Lucas going up there, getting to a 3-2 count against the starting pitcher tonight, Blake Snell, fouling off 3 or 4 pitchers. And the next thing you know, Snell's got to use 10 pitches to get 1 out. So no matter how good he is, he can't pitch forever. And just by having those long counts, batter after batter, you can get him out of the game maybe in the 5th or 6th inning rather than the 8th inning. And you expose that bullpen. And that's where Toronto can do some damage because, they're on a tear themselves. Vladimir Guerrero is actually almost having Ohtani-like numbers in the postseason. 6 home runs, 19 runs batted in. He's only had 3 strikeouts in 51 at-bats. He's doing things that are historically special. If he can keep this thing going, and I think I can, again, paint some scenarios where the Blue Jays can do some damage, get to that Dodger bullpen, and the Dodgers, for the first time in the postseason, will have to face some adversity. That's another factor. They've just been cruising along. The Blue Jays are really battle-hardened. When you're trailing 3-1 in the 7th inning and need a 3-run a home run to pull it off in the 7th game, you're coming in with some serious confidence and momentum. So you've got that on your side as well.
And you can't help but also, look at this against the backdrop of the, political tensions between Canada and the U.S. I mean, just this morning, Donald Trump said he's dropping trade talks with Canada because of the commercial that Ontario put out. So, the Jays aim to win the championship of America's pastime. So what do you think the return of the World Series to Canada means for people here, whether it's super fans or newer converts?
Yeah, there's no doubt we're having a cultural moment across the country with this. I'm old enough to remember 92, 93. It reminds me a lot of that. More recently, it reminds me of what the Raptors did in 2019 when the entire country got around Canada's one NBA team. Angus Reid Institute did some polling last week that I found interesting. Normally, you've got about 1 in 5 Canadians who follow baseball. Right now, 70% of the population says they're either watching this or following it closely. And so there's no doubt that there's a big element of rallying around the flag to that, where you're looking at, sure, football is actually the big sport in the U.S. right now, but baseball has got such history, and the Dodgers are this quintessential American franchise, and you've got the one Canadian franchise against them. But I would also add a few caveats. This is not like it's Canada versus the U.S. that we'll see in the World Baseball Classic next year. This is franchises with players from all over the place. And in fact, there's only one player on either team who's going to represent Canada at the next World Baseball Classic, and that's Freddie Freeman of the Dodgers, right? So I could say that that's a factor there. And then, look, I think using Winnipeg as an example, it's overwhelmingly you've got Blue Jay fans there, but I think there's a sprinkling of Minnesota Twins fans from the geographic proximity. Very small in number, I know, but they exist, and there's pockets of those across the country as well, particularly in Montreal, where they still are bitter about the Blue Jays voting to contract the Expo. So there are some caveats I'll put around it, but yes, overall, this is a big, big moment. And as you mentioned with the news today, made it even bigger.
Well, Ed, thanks so much, and enjoy the game tonight.
You too. Thanks, Corey.
Ed Kleiman is a freelance sports reporter. Stay tuned. Coming up this next half hour on the show, with gold prices soaring, couples looking to put a ring on it are in a tight spot. Coming up, a jeweler shares some tips on how to take the plunge without breaking the bank. That and your business report coming up after your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. The city's warming up starting today. Right now we're at 1. Our high, though, this afternoon into the double digits at 10 degrees. It's going to become mostly sunny through the day. Manitoba's healthcare system is getting a significant injection of U.S. physicians. Dr. Arlie Traynor arrives in February. She is currently working as an emergency physician in South Dakota. Traynor was born in Manitoba and has family here. She will now work as an ER doctor in Brandon. 10 U.S. physicians have registered in this province since Donald Trump was elected.
There is a large amount of money and interest in Manitoba specifically being put towards improving healthcare, improving medical research, and improving medical education, which for me personally and for many other people in the U.S. is a huge draw.
The College of Physicians and Surgeons of Manitoba says it is now easier for American doctors to move to Manitoba. U.S. trained and certified physicians can now get a full license to practice in Manitoba without completing Canadian certification exams and working temporarily under supervision. A new development in Canada's trade war with the United States. In response to an ad campaign Ontario has been running in the U.S., President Donald Trump has called off all trade talks with Canada. The ad uses former U.S. President Ronald Reagan's famous anti-tariff radio address from 1987.
But over the long run, such trade barriers hurt every American worker and consumer. America's jobs and growth are at stake.
The Ronald Reagan Foundation claims that ad misrepresents his address, adding Ontario did not have permission to use it. Donald Trump heard the ad.
I saw an ad last night from Canada. If I was Canada, I'd take that same ad also. But they're actually on television taking ads, but I do believe that everybody's too smart for that.
And Trump took out to social media late last night saying the ad is why he officially called off trade talks with Canada. You can hear the latest on this story as well as other national and international news coming up on World Report at 7. The majority of reported measles cases in Manitoba involve people who were not vaccinated against the virus. That is according to recent data from the province. It says from the start of February to October 11th, there have been 245 measles cases either confirmed or probable. Nearly 90% involve those without a single measles vaccine. Dr. Devinder Singh is Medical Officer of Health for Manitoba's immunization program.
All outbreaks, do eventually come to an end, but in this case, things would end a lot quicker and with less, kids having to go to the ER or get hospitalized or go to the ICU if people chose to immunize against measles.
The province says 15 people have been hospitalized because of measles so far this year. 2 patients ended up in intensive care. A Manitoba mother is welcoming the federal government's overhaul of bail laws. Michelle Best's daughter, Kelly Verwy, was killed near Portage la Prairie by an alleged drunk driver with a history of breaching bail. She says a new bill imposing tougher conditions will save future lives.
We need perpetual violent offenders to stay in jail until their trial date. And I get the whole innocent until proven guilty, but I guess my big question is how many times, though? How many times do we get to make the same mistake?
The bill tabled in Parliament yesterday will make it so people accused of some crimes must prove in court they deserve to be released. The bill also introduces harsher sentences, asking courts to take a harder line on violent and repeat offenders. Manitoba's ombudsman has exonerated the former mayor of East St. Paul in a revised report, a conflict of interest complaint against the current mayor. CBC's Bartley Kivas reports.
The report takes another look at an East St. Paul council meeting that took place in 2022. During that meeting, Councillor Carla Devlin, who's now the mayor of East St. Paul, took part in a vote about refunding $210,000 worth of fees to a developer. That developer used a company owned by Devlin as a contractor. In an original report, the ombudsman found Devlin had a personal interest in the vote and that she acted on advice from Shelley Hart, who was the mayor at the time. In a new report, the ombudsman found that conversation never happened. Devlin says she was a young councillor at the time and voted for the refund to spare East St. Paul from being exposed to a lawsuit. Hart could not be reached for comment. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The Winnipeg Jets' 5-game winning streak has ended. The team couldn't score a single goal last night, held off by the Kraken. Seattle blanking Winnipeg 3-0. Coach Scott Arneal.
They're a good defensive team. The goaltender stood tall. They kept us to the outside. Their 5 guys were packing it in pretty tight, and it was going to take a greasy one. It was going to take a deflection or a rebound, and like I said, their goaltender was real good, and they played a pretty stingy game.
The Jets reset and get set to face the Flames tonight at Canada Life Centre. Puck drop is at 7. You can find the latest news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
So, Heather, I got to ask you, though, Jay's game, obviously you've been following.
Yeah.
Do you dare say how many the Jays will win in, if you were to guess? How many games?
You know what? I'm not gonna do that, but I will say I'm excited that Trey Yesavage is getting the start. I mean, the
Okay.
young rookie, he's been a
Mhm.
star, so I'm excited for that.
Okay. Thanks for not making bets. That's fair.
I just don't want to, it's going to be heartbreak if they don't, but and elation if they do. So you have to kind of walk a middle road a little bit.
That's fair. That's fair. You don't want to get too invested. It makes sense. Okay. Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
Jay's in 4. As I'm saying. Yeah.
Oh,
it's
that's
to go
good.
Yeah. It's going to go to game 7.
Really?
Yeah. That's my guess.
So they will win it in Toronto because they play the first 2 in LA, come
Yeah.
back or do they play the first 3 in LA?
No, well, they're playing in Toronto tonight. So, yeah.
Right, exactly. And then they go to LA for 3.
Yes.
Thank
yeah.
you.
So
yes.
I'm just an advocate for the most exciting outcome, which I think that's what it would be. So let's hope Jay's in 4.
Okay. I'm not going to bet, but I'll back you.
Okay, thanks. That is Heather Wells at the CBC News Desk. Now let's check in with Abby Adeyemi, who's got a look at the weather. Hello, Abby.
Hi, Curry. Sunshine on the way, I can tell you. Most of the regions will be warming up to 10 degrees in the southern part of the province, while up north we'll see temperatures climb close to 5 later today. We're tracking 1 degree at the Fox. Right now, clear conditions. We have a lot of sunshine on its way, though we're seeing some cloudy conditions now, but that should clear by noon, and then we will get lots of sunshine. We warm up to 10 degrees later. In the Pembina Valley region, tracking it all the way down to the U.S. border from Modern Winkler, Altona, we're seeing 1 degree there also. We're spotting some fog patches in that part of the province. That should clear as you get into the morning, and then it's going to leave behind lots of sunshine. That region also warming up to 10 degrees. We head west towards Brandon and Nippo, and right now we're looking at temperatures around 0 and clear conditions, but you do warm up to about 12 degrees later today. In the Parkland region, Dauphin, tracking it towards Roblin, we're looking at 0 there also. Clear conditions with fog patches. That should lift, and then we'll see sunshine, highs near 12 today. In the Interlake region, Gimli and surrounding communities, we're at 2 degrees right now, mostly clear. Sunshine also on its way this morning. We'll see your temperatures warm up to about 10. The Flin Flon surrounding communities, we're looking at 3 degrees there. Clear conditions you're getting. Sunshine will also continue through the afternoon with southeast breeze, and you warm up to about 9 degrees today. For Thompson, we're looking at 1 there. Churchill at 0. Both regions will be warming up to about Churchill is going to see a high near 5 degrees. Thompson is going to see highs near 8 degrees. And Curry, I just did a peek into Saturday. Saturday really looks warm for the province.
Yes.
We're going to down south. We're going to see high. We're going to see 16s, 17s, and 18s. While for up north, we're going to see around 10 and 13 degrees for the northern part of the province. So the sunshine is already making setting the pace for what we're going to see on Saturday. But right now, Winnipeg, we're dealing with 1 degree, and it's clear outside, sunshine on its way.
A month ago, that wouldn't have been T-shirt weather, but now that's T-shirt weather.
Yeah, that's T-shirt weather.
Yes, it's going to be great. Thank you very much, Abby.
Thank you.
That is Abby Adeyemi. Let's also check in with Sierra Sanders, who's keeping an eye on the commute. Hello.
Hello. I will say that weather sounds great for the Bomber game tomorrow. Their
Yes.
final regular season home game is being played tomorrow afternoon. I think kickoff is at 2, so it's going to be peak warm sun if everything goes to plan, as Abby just said. So
Perfect.
I think it's going to be perfect weather. Turning to the commute, not hearing about too much going on out there, so nothing major getting in your way or causing any backups right now, but there's still lots of time here on Information Radio. So if there is something that's getting in your way, whether you are walking, biking, driving, busing, however you are choosing to get around today, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. I'd love to let your fellow listeners and commuters know about what is going on out there. Give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number is 204-788-3093.
Thank you very much, Sierra.
Thank
That
you.
is Sierra Sanders. She is our studio director and keeping an eye on the commute. I'm Corey Funk this morning in for Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to Information Radio on CBC Radio 1. Well, next up on the show, Hallie Cottenham is here with the Business Report. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Corey.
Well, of course, we need to talk about this breaking news that happened overnight. U.S. President Donald Trump says he's terminating all trade negotiations with Canada. I know this has been all over CBC News this morning, but if people are just tuning in now, just kind of give us the top line what happened.
Well, according to Trump's post on Truth Social, he's canceling trade negotiations because of a television ad that the Ontario government is running. It uses the late U.S. President Ronald Reagan's own words to send an anti-tariff message to American audiences. Heather had a snippet of it in your newscast. Here's a bit more.
Throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition.
Trump is calling the ad fraudulent and fake and an attempt to influence next month's U.S. Supreme Court case on whether his tariffs are legal. So Trump posted, quote, "Tariffs are very important to the national security and economy of the USA. Based on their egregious behavior, all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated." Now, Corey, we know Trump had seen the ad. We know he had seen it earlier this week, probably Monday night, because he referred to it on Tuesday while speaking to Republicans at the White House.
And I even see foreign countries now that we are doing very well with taking ads. Don't go with tariffs. They're taking ads. I saw an ad last night from Canada. If I was Canada, I'd take that same ad also.
Now, a few hours before Trump's post on Truth Social, the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation came out saying that the Ontario ad misrepresents Reagan's radio address and that Ontario didn't ask for or receive permission to use and edit the remarks. But a spokesperson for Premier Ford says the ad uses an unedited excerpt from the 1987 address, which is in the public domain. Now, just 2 days ago, Premier Doug Ford was asked about the ad campaign, which is costing Ontario taxpayers $75 million, and he had this to say.
I heard that the president heard our ad. I'm sure he wasn't too happy, but it's real because it was coming from the best president the country's ever seen, Ronald Reagan. So it is. It's very effective. It's probably one of the best ads I've ever seen, and it's coming from Ronald Reagan's voice.
This ad has been running on Fox. It's going to run on other networks, but we know it's running on Fox, including during Game 7 of the American League Championship Series, which was watched by so many people and won by the Blue Jays.
So I find this really interesting because, the timing of last night's post, because you said that Trump was actually talking about it on Tuesday.
Yeah. And as recently as Wednesday, a spokesperson for Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc described the negotiations as making progress. Our colleague Ashley Burke points out that Trump's post came just a couple hours after Canada pushed back against moves by the car makers Stellantis and GM because they're scaling back manufacturing in Canada. So Canada announced last night it's going to cut the number of tariff-free vehicles those automakers can import from the U.S. to sell here in Canada. Lana Payne of Unifor has this to say about that move.
It's a carrot-stick approach, and this actually, I think, will work. If we don't push back hard against him and against these companies, we're going to lose it all.
So just to recap, Corey, major development, Donald Trump terminating trade talks because of the anti-tariff ad, but it comes just a few hours after we push back with new countermeasures. We are still waiting to get reaction from the Prime Minister's office this morning, Corey. I should say it's not the first time Trump has suspended talks, and there is a possibility the two leaders might meet up in Asia. Both are heading to a summit in Malaysia today, and both are heading then to the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum in South Korea. So we don't know that there are any bilateral talks planned, but there's at least a chance.
Well, as you can imagine, we're also trying to get local reaction here in Manitoba from the business community on the breaking news overnight. Thanks so much, Hallie. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Corey.
That's Hallie Cottenham with your business news. 6:45 right now here on Information Radio. And I know it's, technically World Series season. It's baseball season. There's lots of seasons going on. It's fall, but it's also called engagement season right now from late November to mid-February. And that's when the majority of proposals around the world take place. But with gold surpassed, I guess we're coming up on it. It's not actually quite engagement season yet. We're coming up on engagement season. But with gold surpassing a whopping $6,000 per ounce last week, people who are planning to pop the question are faced with a challenge. The CBC's Aaron McInnes spoke with goldsmith Dorothy Rosen to get some options.
I've been in this industry for over 20 years. When I started, gold was at about $700 an ounce Canadian. And just a couple of days ago, it surpassed $6,000 an ounce. It makes me nauseous to think about that. For custom pieces, I used to be able to give people a quote, and that would be good for a month. And at this point, I say that a quote is good for 5 days or a week at most. That is how rapidly the price is changing.
On an engagement ring, I think the old rule was like 2 or 3 months' salary. Does that still apply? Are people still thinking that way about what they're spending on rings?
You know, you make your own party. I mean, all my colleagues are going to hate me for this, but the dollar amount to me is not the important thing. It's the heart that you're putting into the purchase, into the buying of that thing, the consideration of your partner and what they will like. You know, I have sold $30,000 engagement rings. I've sold $10,000 engagement rings. And I have seen people with an O-ring from Canadian Tire. They wore that until they had the money to buy a ring. I often have people come in who say, we got this ring 20 years ago when we got married. We didn't have much money back then, but I would like to have it remade into something that represents my 20 years I've put in. And so then they have that bigger piece made. So that's more of what I see. People first buy almost like a starter ring, and then 10 years later, 20 years later, get something bigger or get their diamond reset. You can probably walk into a local jewelry store and find a decent ring. If you walk into a good store, they will advise you well, and they will meet you with your budget.
Right, and don't be shy about being honest and upfront about how much
100%.
you can spend.
All of us in the industry are reeling along with everybody else, thinking, how can we still make things affordable for our clients? If you have a stash of gold at home, old broken pieces, single earrings, broken necklaces, this is a good time to take that to a reputable gold buyer and cash it in, and then take that cash to a local store to buy a ready-made ring rather than having a custom ring made, which will be a lot more. Just calling your relatives, say, do you have a single earring kicking around somewhere? Can I put that in the pool? Then, in fact, maybe there's an heirloom piece in your family that needs resizing. One of the things that I love about making jewelry is that it has this tremendous ability to carry meaning. And if you have a piece of jewelry that's been in your family and handed down, that carries a generation or more of meaning and care and tradition.
That was goldsmith Dorothy Rosen speaking with the CBC's Aaron McInnes. And coming up later here on Information Radio, we're going to speak to a local coin buyer. That's someone who's actually built an entire business out of buying and selling coins. She's going to give us some insight into why the demand has increased so much and how it's impacted her operations here in Winnipeg.
There are many people who bring success, innovation, accomplishment, and charity to our community. We'd like you to help us meet some of the best. CBC Future 40 will honor 10 Manitobans under 40 making a difference. Help us discover the inspiring people in our province by nominating a shining star in your community today. For details, visit cbc.ca/future40mb.
6:49 right now. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1. I'm Corey Funk, sitting in this morning for Marcy Marcusa. Well, the posts we encounter on social media can exert a lot of influence for many of us on matters large and small. For instance, people commonly scroll for health tips on TikTok. That trend has prompted CBC's Marketplace to take a closer look at a concerning situation. Misinformation about medical conditions that is spreading fast, conveyed through personal stories that can sound convincing, but it's misinformation just the same. Co-host Asha Tomlinson joins us now to break down Marketplace's latest investigation. Hello there, Asha.
Hi, Corey.
So, Asha, why did you focus on TikTok in particular?
Well, there are a couple of reasons. It's the fastest growing social media platform. Millions of us use it every day. Though experts are warning, the spread of misinformation is getting worse on the app, that there are a lot of unproven treatments, therapies, and cures that people are scrolling through, they're trusting, and they're trying it out in their personal lives. When you think of the format of TikTok, many of the videos that get the most traction are grounded in compelling testimonials and anecdotes. Basically, the idea is if it worked for me, it can work for you. Sometimes even these influencers sell products to us. But lastly, I think TikTok has one of the strongest algorithms. So they're serving you similar content once you've searched for a particular topic. And many people will notice you start getting more of the same videos, right? And it just becomes easier to believe what you see.
So then how did you set up your test exactly, and what did you find?
We searched two popular health topics, autism and cancer. Our team then analyzed 200 TikTok videos served up to us featuring a cure or a treatment for them. And we found that 80% of the remedies, that's totaling more than 75 million views, were not supported by scientific evidence. In fact, some were outright dangerous, according to our experts. And when you break the results of our test down even further, that's around 8 out of 10 videos that we watched, right, on these two topics, and they were rife with misinformation.
So let's unpack some of these videos a little bit. So just unpack what you found regarding, these TikTok videos surrounding cancer.
Yeah, one example I want to tell you about. So it's a bit of a celebrity endorsement. I mean, there's this popular video. It's actually a clip of actor Mel Gibson on Joe Rogan's podcast earlier this year. He is touting the anti-parasitic drug ivermectin and a dog dewormer, fembendazole, as treatments for cancer. He says all 3 of his friends had stage 4 cancer, and all 3 of them are now cancer-free after exploring these alleged treatments. We showed this video to an oncologist from Princess Margaret Hospital, Dr. Abha Gupta. She was stunned by this, and here's what she had to say.
Complete garbage. If we truly thought that any of these agents had any merit, we would be doing clinical trials in them. We would be actually investigating them, but there is no merit.
No merit, and some of the accounts as well discredit conventional treatment and tell cancer patients to stop with that. When we reached out for comment, though, from Mel Gibson, he gave us what he called a polite pass on our request.
And tell us about the misinformation you found on TikTok involving autism.
Well, there's a myth that's been disproven many times over that excess heavy metals is what causes autism. So there is a video in particular that has almost 800,000 views posted by a chiropractor pushing chelation therapy for autism. It's an IV treatment that removes heavy metals from the body. So we showed this video to autism researcher and pediatrician Dr. Melanie Penner. Here's her take on it. So, chelation therapy. Any evidence it works?
No. There's no evidence that chelation therapy works. There is a risk of death that comes with these treatments. We absolutely recommend against these treatments. It makes me really concerned that so many people are hearing a bold, incorrect, and dangerous claim like that.
We reached out to the chiropractor in the video, but got no response back. I think, though, when you look at the vulnerability piece here, when people are searching for answers for something that will help their situation, this shows that there are potentially deadly consequences. So, the consequences go far beyond just some bad advice online.
So what about TikTok, though? How did TikTok respond to your investigation?
No one from TikTok would do an on-camera interview or speak directly to our findings. They tell us in an email that they take action when content violates their guidelines. When users, they say, search for cures or symptoms, a notice pops up reminding them not to use the platform for medical advice. And after we reach out to them, most of the videos in our story have been taken down. I think the key takeaway, though, for many of us is if you have a doctor or, you have a healthcare professional that you can see, get medical advice from them, get second or third opinions if you need to, but do not trust TikTok. It is there just for entertainment purposes.
Well, Asha, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Asha Tomlinson is a host with CBC Marketplace. For the full investigation, you can watch the show tonight at 8 p.m. Well, time for a little bit of music here before the news. Fresh off his Polaris Prize win, Yves Jarvis is already putting out new music. Well, sort of. He's announced a deluxe version of his Polaris winning album. all cylinders, and this is the first of 5 new tracks on it. Here's Man in His Pomp.
My friends all say, better go get myself set straight before that clock runs out. Better stop messing about. Aimless and just kicking the can. Can I just listen to some mere man telling us what he suggests? And so snide, no less. Why do my troubles remain? I've had my share. I'm gonna drive top down in the fast lane with the wind blowing through my hair. Not a single care. My parents say, gotta settle your debts and pay. Wait till they find out that it's more than I could count. Why do my troubles remain? I've had my share. I'm gonna drive top down in the fast lane with the wind blowing through my hair. Not a single care.
That's Eve Jarvis with Man in His Pomp. 6:57 right now here on Information Radio. And let's check in with Heather Wells with a look at news headlines.
Good morning. A physician with Manitoba Health's immunization program is urging people to get vaccinated against measles. Recent data from the province shows that at the start of February to October 11th, there were 245 probable or confirmed infections in this province. Dr. Devinda Singh says measles cases are still steady and more vaccination is needed to limit the spread. Manitoba's ombudsman has exonerated the former mayor of East St. Paul in a revised report about a conflict of interest complaint against the current mayor. We'll hear the latest from East St. Paul coming up in our next local news at 7:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is Heather Wells at our CBC News Desk. Still no issues that we've heard of in traffic yet, but you can give our line a call, 204-788-3093. Our studio director, Sierra Sanders, is standing by. And right now at the Forks, we are sitting at 1, heading for a high today of 10 here in Winnipeg. Stay tuned. Coming up, an Alberta teacher who wants to raise awareness on bullying, mental health, and the dangers of social media is using her students' experiences to write fictional young adult novels. She's going to tell us what she's hearing from teenagers in her classroom. Coming up after World Report. I'm Corey Funk, in for Marcy Marcusa. Stay tuned. This is Information Radio on CBC Radio 1.
Today on The Current.
Mike Finnerty loved his job as a morning show host on CBC Radio in Montreal, but looking for something new brought him into the world of cheese.
There was an advertisement for a cheesemonger, and I thought, what is a cheesemonger?
What Mike Finnerty learned about people and about himself through selling cheese, coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm Idil Musa. U.S. President Donald Trump says he's calling off trade talks with Canada. It's all over an anti-tariff advertisement by the Ontario government running on U.S. networks. The sudden announcement could be a setback for the Carney government, which has been striving to lower Washington's punishing tariffs. Katie Simpson has more.
High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries.
The offending ad features highlights of a 1987 speech by U.S. President Ronald Reagan, which makes the case against tariffs. After a complaint by Reagan's Presidential Foundation that Ontario did not get permission to use the audio and video, Donald Trump made his stunning announcement, writing on social media in all caps, all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated. He called the ad fraudulent and fake, accusing Canada of running the spot as a way to influence the U.S. Supreme Court ahead of a hearing next month that will determine whether most of Trump's tariffs are legal.
We've never had anything like it coming in because of tariffs. The money pouring into our country, the plants that are opening.
Ontario spent $75 million to run the ad on major American broadcasters, and the president says he saw it Monday night, likely the spot that aired during the baseball playoff game between the Toronto Blue Jays and Seattle Mariners. This comes at a pivotal moment in trade talks, a time when Canada had thought progress was being made in an effort to lower some tariffs, particularly on steel and aluminum. Momentum that is now stalled. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
As Katie mentioned, Trump's sudden move comes at a precarious time for Canada-U.S. trade talks and a little over 2 weeks after what appeared to be a cordial meeting with Prime Minister Mark Carney in the White House. The CBC's Janice McGregor joins us now with more. Janice, when it comes to Trump, Carney and Ford have been playing a bit of good cop, bad cop. Is this latest outburst a sign that that's backfiring on them?
The Ontario government spent $75 million on this ad buy on major U.S. networks, including a spot during the Blue Jays American League Championship final earlier this week. When Doug Ford realized that the U.S. president noticed, the premier said he knew Donald Trump wasn't happy to hear a revered free trading president's words used against him. But sorry, not sorry.
The Reagan Republicans are going to be fighting with a MAGA group. And let's hope Reagan Republicans win.
It's not clear that the Ontario government has much to fear from the Reagan Foundation's claim of copyright infringement because, as the Premier's office pointed out last night, this speech is in the public domain. This isn't really a legal fight, it's a political one, and Ford's approach is aggressive. The Prime Minister, however, has taken a different approach. Last week, when Ford called for more retaliation in the wake of the latest moves against Canada's auto sector, Mark Carney said no. Now's the time to talk, not punch. But by yesterday, Carney had abandoned his earlier pitch for a comprehensive economic and security partnership to fix all this.
The Americans are moving to an approach which is sector by sector as opposed to global.
Carney spoke of constructive negotiations, particularly for the steel industry. Does this post from Trump now blow those up, or is it a final hardball negotiating tactic precisely because things were circling in on a deal? With Ford standing right beside him yesterday, the Prime Minister said if there's no progress, Canada will do what's necessary to protect its workers. And by the end of the day, Ottawa had revoked tariff exemptions in retaliation for the jobs that automakers GM and Stellantis have moved south.
So, Janice, where does this leave trade talks?
Well, both Trump and Carney are on their way to Asia for key regional summits next week. It's unclear what's going to happen when the two leaders see each other, but we've had no word yet on what the federal government makes of all this. When Trump took offense to Canada's digital services tax last June, Canada had to rescind it just to keep talks going. But it may not be politically sustainable here at home for the Carney government to keep making concessions just for the privilege of continuing talks without anything to show for it.
The CBC's Janice McGregor in Ottawa. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Still on the trade front, Industry Minister Mélanie Joly says General Motors has 15 days to provide an update on the future of its auto assembly plant in Ingersoll, Ontario. Joly says workers deserve, quote, clarity and action. GM announced this week that it's ending production of its electric delivery van at the facility, putting more than 1,000 jobs in jeopardy. The federal government says GM and Stellantis can expect to see changes in the number of specific U.S.-made vehicles Canada will be allowing into the country tariff-free. The World Series is returning to Canada for the first time in 32 years. The Toronto Blue Jays won back-to-back championships in 92 and 93, and tonight they will square off against the defending champion, Los Angeles Dodgers. Jamie Strachan has more on how the team is preparing.
It's just really cool for the organization, and I'm just thankful and humbled.
Toronto Blue Jays manager John Schneider says it's natural for his team to be feeling some nerves ahead of Game 1 of the World Series, the first in Canada since 1993. Even though the Blue Jays won more games than the Los Angeles Dodgers, it's Toronto who are the underdogs.
I think the one thing we cannot do is look over there and say that is Goliath. That is a beatable baseball team that has its flaws.
The team's magical, unexpected run to the World Series has fans delirious. The Jays shop at the Rogers Centre, barely able to keep series-related items in stock.
You know, the World Series hat, I had to get this because, after the World Series, we're not going to know the next time the Jays are going to make it, right?
Players like Davis Schneider and Addison Barger are embracing what could be a once-in-a-career opportunity.
As long as you come prepared, I feel like the pressure will kind of go away when you're in the moment. It's great to have a whole country kind of behind you, and it's not just a city.
You don't know how many times you'll make it to the World Series in your life. Some people never do, so a lot of people never do.
On the eve of Game 1, an on-field visit from Prime Minister Mark Carney, who likes the Jays to win in 6 games, but no bet yet with U.S. President Donald Trump.
I think he's afraid to make a bet. He doesn't like to lose. He hasn't returned my call yet on the bet, so I'm ready.
First pitch is just after 8 o'clock Eastern, a nation of baseball fans sure to be watching. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
Volodymyr Zelensky is in the UK for a meeting with key allies. The Ukrainian president reviews an honor guard with King Charles. Prime Minister Keir Starmer is hosting a session of the Coalition of the Willing. Canada is among the more than 24 countries supporting Ukraine's war effort. Starmer is expected to push them for stronger measures to force Russia to end the war. Discussions will reportedly include providing Ukraine with more long-range missiles. Treatment centers market themselves as the answer to help Canadians dealing with addiction or mental health issues. But private residential facilities operate with little or no government oversight, and critics say that leaves gaps filled by those looking to make a profit. The Fifth Estate's Stephen D'Souza has more.
Massages, sauna, hot tub, in the woods.
When researching treatment centers online, Emily Bogan thought Nomina Wellness on Vancouver Island was idyllic. Photos she and her mom found showed a mountain lodge overlooking a wooded valley. But when she arrived in Courtenay, BC, the house she was taken to was much different.
The clients there called it a crack house.
Bogan paid more than $33,000 for the first 3 weeks and says co-owner Lisa Calco's promise of treatment for drug addiction and symptoms of Lyme disease never materialized.
I just felt like they weren't listening to Emily.
Emily's mother, Sean, was trying to get answers from Nomina.
I was really angry, and I let her know that I felt like I had been lied to and deceived.
Critics say their experience is part of a bigger problem with private residential treatment centers across much of Canada.
There are no standard treatment protocols.
Lisa Lapointe was BC chief coroner for more than a decade. She says there's little government oversight and no one tracks patient outcomes.
I think the public would be shocked to know that we actually have no idea how effective treatment is.
Nomina co-owner Lisa Calco declined an interview with the Fifth Estate, saying their website accurately captures what they offer, including facilities, and says clients voluntarily enroll in their programs. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, Toronto.
The Fifth Estate's investigation, Dying to Recover, airs tonight at 9 p.m. on CBC Television and GEM. You can also watch it anytime on YouTube. That's the latest national and international news for World Report. For today's top stories and news anytime, go to cbcnews.ca. I'm Idil Musa. This is CBC News.
Good morning, Manitoba. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, and everywhere on the CBC Manitoba YouTube page. I'm Corey Funk, in for Marcy Marcusa. Coming up this hour on the show, we're going to continue our conversation about the sandwich generation, those people in our society who are taking care of kids and their aging parents, this time from the perspective of a senior citizen. That's coming up later this hour. Also, deciding what you want to do after high school can be stressful for some, but the University of Manitoba hopes its latest event will help put students and parents at ease. We're going to hear what future students can expect at this year's open house. But first, here on Information Radio, an Alberta teacher who wants to raise awareness on bullying, mental health, and the dangers of social media is using her students' experiences to write fictional young adult novels. She's going to tell us what she's hearing from teenagers in her classroom. Also, we're going to break down what to expect tonight's Game 1 of the World Series. That's all coming up here on Information Radio. But right now at 7:11, let's check in with Heather Wells with a look at news headlines.
Good morning. Manitoba's healthcare system is getting a significant injection of U.S. doctors. Dr. Arlie Traynor arrives in Brandon's ER in February. She currently is working as an emergency physician in South Dakota. Traynor was born in Manitoba and has family here. She says she loves that the brain drain is going the other way. 10 U.S. physicians have registered in Manitoba since Donald Trump was elected. The mother of a woman killed in a highway crash near Portage la Prairie says bail reform will save lives. The federal government has tabled its bill, making it harder for violent and repeat offenders to be released. Michelle Best's daughter, Kelly Verwey, was killed by an alleged drunk driver out on bail, and she says the entire system needs an overhaul. We'll hear more in our next news at 7:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
You're welcome.
That is Heather Wells here at our CBC News Best. Sorry, we're right now. We were just chatting. I was just chatting with Sierra Sanders, who just popped into the studio. We're working on trying to get some local reaction, of course, to that news of Donald Trump canceling trade talks with Canada. So we're coordinating on that. But before we get to Sierra, let's chat with Abby Adeyemi, who's taking a look at the weather. Hello.
Hello, Corey. It's going to be a sunny start, more like to the Friday, and that trend continues all day into the weekend. We're looking at the south warming up nicely. Winnipeg will be hitting highs near 10 degrees, while out west, Brandon, we will be reaching about 12 degrees. Clear up north also, we're looking at 9 degrees around the Par and the Par, Thompson, and Gillam. Churchill is going to get to 5 degrees. Winnipeg right now, we're looking at 2 degrees in the city.
Thank you very much, Abby.
Thank you.
That is Abby Adeyemi behind the glass. Sierra Sanders here in studio with keep an eye on the commute. Hello.
Hello, Corey. Very quiet out there on this Friday commute. Not hearing about any major incidents or any major backups as well. But if that is not the case and something is getting in your way, whether you are here in the city or out on the highways, however you are getting around this morning, we would love to hear what you are seeing out there. You can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number is 204-788-3093.
Well, as you've been hearing in the news, police have charged 3 teen girls after 2 separate alleged assaults on students at Oak Park High School. This may have some parents wondering about their own kids and what they're experiencing at school. As kids get older, it can sometimes be hard for parents to know what they're up to and what they may be going through, especially if they're being bullied. And often the person best suited to answer those questions are their teachers, since they do spend a lot of time together. That's something Tara Hodgson, a junior high teacher in Alberta, has also noticed, which is why she embarked on a journey to write about the issues teens struggle with by using her students' experiences. Her second novel, At Least I'm Trying, came out last week, and she joins us now on Zoom. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, good, good. So I just want to start with your reaction here. When you hear about these 3 girls charged for 2 alleged assaults against fellow female students, what goes through your mind?
It's actually terrifying because I think of young people, like what is making you that angry or that, violent towards your peers? Like what is going on that you feel you need to physically hurt somebody? It's very terrifying.
And based on your experience in schools, what are you hearing from your students when it comes to bullying and the types of environments or surroundings that lead them to bully other kids?
Yeah, so from my experience, what has kind of prompted me to write the books that I'm writing is it's more happening in the digital space now, which, yes, nobody's getting physically hurt, but the mental anguish, the internal pain is very, very real. And kids are struggling in that sense. And what's scary about that, and this is not just a teen issue, anybody who's behind a screen feels a lot more brave than they are potentially face to face. So even kids who typically wouldn't be a bully or typically wouldn't say these things are, because they're protected, as you could say, by their screens. So we're seeing that a lot in schools.
And are you seeing those, those move from online into the school world, like into the school itself physically? And does that ever lead to physical violence? Is there a bit of a pipeline there from what happens, say, on Instagram or something like that to violence? Have you noticed that?
Not much. It has happened. Thankfully, I live in a very small rural community, so we haven't had a lot of that. We have had one severe instance where it moved from online. I think that's where things kind of started and ramped up, and then other people got involved, and then it led to a physical altercation, which was very serious. But we do just see kind of the trickle effect of the online bullying coming into the classroom, because it happened at 2 a.m. on Snapchat or on TikTok, and now we're seeing it at school because these kids are exhausted. We have other kids who saw the screenshots and they're getting involved. And so now as a classroom teacher, you're dealing with this repercussion of what happened at 2 a.m. the night before.
And of course, just to be clear, we're in this Oak Park, incident here that we're hearing about. We don't know the ins and outs of whether it's connected to online behavior or not. We just know about the assault charges itself. But in terms of just bullying, what has it gotten worse in your school, at least? Over the years, have you noticed, how it's changed? Say since the pandemic.
Yeah, again, I think the way it's gotten worse is that I think back to when I was a kid. If you had a bad day at school or somebody was treating you poorly, you go home and you can escape. You're not still dealing with it. You can just be happy. You can find some joy after a terrible day. But now kids never get the opportunity to escape because it follows them through their back pocket on their phone. So it just keeps going. And that has really amplified things. And then also, again, like I said, through the screen, the things that people say. So you hear a lot of stories of kids saying, you should kill yourself, on TikTok the night before. And then you have somebody who's already struggling and they're hearing things like that. That's obviously going to have a severe effect on their mental health now, which since the pandemic, I've seen an insane increase in mental health issues with teens, for sure.
So seeing this in your school has led you to actually start writing about it in the form of novels. Why did you decide to turn this into I guess, in this real world experience into fiction?
Yeah, I guess because all of these things I've seen since, especially COVID, I felt kind of helpless on how to talk about it or how to increase awareness. And I've always been really passionate about online behavior and how it's affecting kids. I've been teaching junior high for 17 years. So reflecting on when I began teaching these issues, sure, you still have the bullying issues, you still have the mental health issues, but the prevalence was nowhere near what it is today. So I've been reflecting, what is it? And it really comes down to the increase in tech and how, especially since COVID, we kind of pushed kids onto more tech. And I needed a way to talk about it. And so my first novel, Chasing Through Time, this story just popped into my head and I could not keep it in. It literally was written, completed in 6 months. And I loved it. I loved the response I got. I loved that I was able to communicate what I'm seeing and trigger some, hopefully, important conversations.
And since your books have come out, particularly your book about bullying, your first one, what's the response been? How has that helped students process it or address it in their schools? Have you heard any stories?
Yeah, so the book was initially, so Chasing Through Time is my first book. It was initially made for teens, but I've actually was super surprised that adults resonated with it a lot. So I think I had a lot of moms, especially, just kind of reaching out. They didn't realize, what types of things were happening behind screens and how it was affecting kids' mental health. And I did have one student in particular say that she was really struggling with her mental health, and just reading the journey of the character Emma and, seeing what she went through, which was very challenging, and seeing that she was able to make her way through it. That was very helpful for that particular reader. And that's kind of my goal, is to show these like very challenging and real situations that kids are going through. And even, when you're a kid, everything is all encompassing. What is happening in that moment is everything entirely. It doesn't feel like you're ever going to get out of it. But my characters, you kind of see them work through it. And even though things aren't perfect at the end, there's hope and it is improving. And so that's what she said she really took away from that.
And for yourself as a teacher, how tricky is it when you kind of see maybe signs of potential bullying happening in the hallways in your classroom? You have those conversations with students. How do you toe that line between making sure you address it, you talk to them, but still making sure they feel safe and comfortable, and not, I guess, prying too much into their lives, but making sure they're safe in schools?
Yeah, so with teens especially, I feel like you have to withhold judgment at all times. So even though inside you might be like, what are you doing? Why did you do this? As soon as you show judgment, you'll lose them. And I think as a parent myself, that's a lesson that I'm going to carry with me as my children enter adolescence, and making connections. So I'm not everybody's connection, but I do connect with as many kids as possible so I can be a safe space for them to talk. But as a school teacher, we're also really limited because we can do everything we can at school. I connect with kids, I talk with them, I ask them questions, which is, why I get so many of the stories that I do, because they tell me what's going on. As soon as they go home, if they don't have that, then it's really tricky. So I think what I want, parents to get from these books is that we have to consistently keep communication open. We have to have these difficult conversations, and withhold your judgment. Even though inside you're screaming, hold that back and judge them later in private. But constant communication, even when things are really hard to talk about.
Well, Tara, thanks for your time this morning. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
That's Tara Hodgson. She's a junior high teacher in Alberta. Her latest book is called At Least I'm Trying. We want to hear from you. Are you a teacher? Are you a student? Are you a parent? What are your concerns about bullying in Manitoba schools? What are you seeing done? What would you like to see done? What are you hearing? You can give us a call on our CBC listener line, 204-788-3205. That's 204-788-3205.
North of North is in fashion, literally. CBC and the WAG are partnering to present Crafted on the Catwalk November 4th, a fashion show featuring cast members of the breakout comedy displaying designer clothes from Manitoba and the North. Then shop for fine handmade goods at Crafted Show and Sale November 7th to 9th. Visit cbc.ca/Manitoba/community for more, including an exclusive North of North screening and meet and greet.
There are many people who bring success, innovation, accomplishment, and charity to our community. We'd like you to help us meet some of the best. CBC Future 40 will honor 10 Manitobans under 40 making a difference. Help us discover the inspiring people in our province by nominating a shining star in your community today. For details, visit cbc.ca/future40mb.
You've got until October 29th to get those applications in. And just a reminder, it doesn't have to be someone who is an astronaut, who is curing cancer necessarily. I mean, if they are, for sure, you should nominate them. But it could be small things as well. So if you have someone who's just a stand-up person in your community under 40, send it in, nominate them. We'd love to hear from them. I'm sure they've got a great story. So don't hesitate and let us know. You've got until October 29th. You can check that out on our CBC Manitoba website. That's cbc.ca/Manitoba. Well, with us now is Scott Regier for our morning sports report. Hello.
Hey, Corey.
So let's, of course, start with baseball, where tonight's the night.
Tis indeed the night. The more than okay Blue Jays, Corey, getting set to take on the star-studded Dodgers in Game 1 of the World Series. On paper, it's a mismatch, I think it's fair to say. The analytics set, Corey, are giving LA about a 70% chance of winning this championship. Toronto manager John Schneider's not buying it.
I think the one thing we cannot do is look over there and say that is Goliath. That is a beatable baseball team that has its flaws and that has its really, really good strengths. How we expose each of them will determine who wins the series. I'll say it till the day I die. I'll put this group of 26 up against anybody.
Yeah, Schneider's 26. Corey, have already toppled the Yankees and Mariners, of course, to get here. Seattle, in particular, testing their mettle. By contrast, the Dodgers blew by the Reds, the Phillies, and the Brewers, losing just a single game along the way. A big part of that is down to LA's starting pitchers, Blake Snell, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Tyler Glasnow, and Shohei Ohtani. Any one of those guys, Corey, would be the ace of the Toronto staff and clear pick to take the ball tonight for game number 1. Turns out it'll be the guy they call Snellzilla, Blake Snell, who can beat you with his fastball, his ridiculous curve, or his paralyzing changeup. That repertoire has helped Snell become one of the few pitchers to win Cy Youngs in both leagues, and now he'll try and add a first World Series title to that resume.
Earlier, we were talking about it, kind of using the analogy of like the Rebel Alliance versus like the Death Star, with Shohei Ohtani being, of course, Darth Vader. But I mean, the Blue Jays are going with a comparatively inexperienced pitcher tonight, which maybe could be Luke Skywalker in this series.
Yeah, maybe so. And to say Trey Savage is inexperienced, Corey, is an understatement. This is just his 7th major league start tonight. Most of those have come in the playoffs. The 22-year-old has rocketed through the Jays farm system and explained what it was like getting the news from manager John Schneider that he'd be on the mound to start a World Series.
I was fired up, got up, hugged Pete. I was very excited with this being my rookie season and having these high-pressure games. I try to treat it as if it's not as high pressure as it is mentally, but I know it's there, so I think I've just developed it over time.
Sometimes young pitchers don't know what they don't know. Savage, alluding there to his calm demeanor, which belies both his age and his experience, Corey. The key to his success so far has been his splitter, a pitch that made several Yankees and Mariners look foolish trying to hit at points. Don't expect Dodgers hitters to look quite so vulnerable to it, especially Shohei Ohtani, the living Japanese legend, Corey, who had a home run hat trick the last time the Dodgers were on the field, absolutely loves hitting splitters.
So this really does kind of sound in a way kind of like Rebel Alliance versus Death Star or David and Goliath, however, whatever kind of analogy, little guy versus big guy, you do want to plug this into type of series. So who do you think will come out on top?
I think the Jays are going to make it interesting. They make better contact than any team in the major leagues and can make life difficult for those star LA pitchers. And if Toronto can get them out of the games early and take on the bullpen in LA, that is the Dodgers' one weakness. I also, Corey, like how the Jays feed off of their home support. No team had a better record on their own soil than Toronto did this year, and they've been feeding off of the energy, of course, not just of the city, but of the entire country. The Jays' last playoff game against the Mariners was watched by close to 12 million people. That is around 3 million more than watched this country's hockey team beat the U.S. in the Four Nations face-off. The Jays really are, then, Canada's team, especially in these politically charged times. Sports can lift a country can lift a team. My head says Dodgers win in 5. My heart says the Jays, on a home run by Montreal-born Vladdy Guerrero Jr., take it in 7 games.
Oh, let's hope your heart is correct there, Scott.
Yeah, me too. I hope so, too.
Well, that is Scott Regehr with our sports report. Thank you very much. Well, still to come here on Information Radio, we're going to learn more about the event that's giving Manitoba high school students a glimpse into campus life at the University of Manitoba. Right now, we're also going to continue our conversation about the sandwich generation, those people in our society who are taking care of kids and their aging parents, this time from the perspective of a senior citizen. That's all coming up after your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. We are starting to warm up. little by little. 2 degrees now in downtown Winnipeg. We're expecting the sky to clear, mostly sunny this afternoon, breezy too, with a high of 10. Manitoba's healthcare system is getting a significant injection of U.S. physicians. Dr. Arlie Traynor arrives in Brandon in February. She's currently working as an emergency physician in South Dakota. Traynor was born in Manitoba and has family here. 10 U.S. physicians have registered in this province since Donald Trump was elected.
There is a large amount of money and interest in Manitoba specifically being put towards improving healthcare, improving medical research, and improving medical education, which for me personally and for many other people in the U.S. is a huge draw.
The College of Physicians and Surgeons of Manitoba says it is now easier for American doctors to move to Manitoba. U.S. trained and certified physicians can now get a full license to practice in Manitoba without completing Canadian certification exams and working temporarily under supervision. A physician with Manitoba Health's immunization program is urging people to get vaccinated against measles. Recent data from the province shows from the start of February to October 11th, there were 245 probable or confirmed measles infections. Nearly 90% of those were in people who had not been immunized. Dr. Devinder Singh says measles cases in this province are still steady, and more vaccination is needed to limit the spread.
Vast majority of people are protected against measles, but there's enough people that are not protected that because the virus is so infectious, it will spread unless, you have a really high level of protection in the population.
Since Manitoba's measles outbreak began in February, 15 people have been hospitalized. 2 have required intensive care, and the province says no deaths have been reported. The mother of a woman killed in a highway crash near Portage la Prairie says bail reform will save lives. The federal government has tabled a bill making it harder for violent and repeat offenders to be released. Michelle Best's daughter, Kelly Verwey, was killed by an alleged drunk driver out on bail. She says the system needs an overhaul.
I don't want another call like that, and I certainly don't want anybody else to have another call like that. It has shattered our family. I know for a fact that had this happened to any one of us, Kelly would be pursuing the same type of change.
The legislation would make detention the default option for several violent crimes. It will be up to the accused in such cases to prove in court they deserve bail. A new development in Canada's trade war with the United States. In response to an ad campaign Ontario has been running in the U.S., President Donald Trump has called off all trade talks with Canada. That ad uses former U.S. President Ronald Reagan's famous anti-tariff radio address from 1987.
But over the long run, such trade barriers hurt every American worker and consumer. America's jobs and growth are at stake.
The Ronald Reagan Foundation claims that ad misrepresents his address, adding Ontario did not have permission to use it. Donald Trump says he saw that ad.
I saw an ad last night from Canada. If I was Canada, I'd take that same ad also. But they're actually on television taking ads, but I do believe that everybody's too smart for that.
This morning on social media, Trump says Canada cheated and got caught on the tariff ads. Now, Premier Doug Ford in Ontario is responding to the claim by the Reagan Foundation that Ontario is misrepresenting the former U.S. president's comments. In a statement to CBC News, Ford's office says the commercial uses an unedited excerpt from one of President Reagan's public addresses, which is available through public domain. You can hear more on this story, as well as more national and international news, coming up on World Report at 8. Manitoba's ombudsman has exonerated the former mayor of East St. Paul in a revised report of a conflict of interest complaint against the current mayor. CBC's Bartley Kivas reports.
The report takes another look at an East St. Paul council meeting that took place in 2022. During that meeting, Councillor Carla Devlin, who's now the mayor of East St. Paul, took part in a vote about refunding $210,000 worth of fees to a developer. That developer used a company owned by Devlin as a contractor. In an original report, the Ombudsman found Devlin had a personal interest in the vote and that she acted on advice from Shelley Hart, who was the mayor at the time. In a new report, the Ombudsman found that conversation never happened. Devlin says she was a young councillor at the time and voted for the refund to spare East St. Paul from being exposed to a lawsuit. Hart could not be reached for comment. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
And the Winnipeg Jets' 5-game winning streak has ended. The team could not score a single goal last night, held off by the Kraken. Seattle blanking Winnipeg 3-0. Coach Scott Arniel says his team had plenty of chances.
I thought we played faster. I thought we pressured harder, got out of our zone quicker. A little bit in the second period, some sloppiness, but at the end of the day, I liked a lot more of what we did today.
The Jets reset now and get set to face the Flames tonight at 7 at Canada Life Centre. You can find the latest news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is Heather Wells at our CBC News Desk. Welcome back to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1. I'm Corey Funk sitting in this morning for Marcy Marcusa. Let's check in with Abby Adeyemi behind the glass with a look at your weather.
Curry, sunshine on its way. Those fog patches lifting already in the part of the southern part of the province where we see fog this morning. We'll see our temperatures climb to about 10 degrees. Clear skies, plenty of sunshine in the forecast. Winnipeg and the rest of the Red River Valley region, we're looking at 2 degrees at this time. Clear conditions, lots of sunshine. Some cloudy conditions will roll in, but that should clear by noon, and then it's going to be sunny all through. We see temperatures climb to about 10 degrees tonight, and then later it drops about 1 overnight. But Saturday is going to warm things up to 16. Similar conditions we're seeing in the Pembina Valley region as mentioned. Heading west towards Brandon and all the way tracking it to Nipawin, we're looking at 0 still at this time. Clear skies you have there. It's going to stay bright with light winds. You warm up to 12 degrees once the sunshine hits that part of the province. Also for Saturday, Brandon is going to be hitting about 18 degrees for tomorrow. In the Parkland region, Dauphin tracking it towards Russell and Roblin, we're looking at 1 degree at this time. Clear conditions, some fog patches spotted earlier this morning. That should lift as you get into the morning, and then it's going to be more of a sunny day. We'll see temperatures climb. It's going to climb near 12 degrees, and then tonight you dropped about 0. For the Interlake region, Gimli and surrounding communities, we're looking at 1 at this time. Depending on where you are, you may see 0 there. Mostly clear now. Sunshine also on its way. Mild southerly breeze. Highs will be around 10 degrees for the Interlake region. Now tracking it into the powerful surrounding areas all the way towards Gillam, we're seeing cloudy skies. We're looking at 3 degrees at Flin Flon right now. Sunshine on its way. That would continue through the afternoon. You warm up to about 9 degrees tonight. And around Thompson, we're seeing 1 degree there, mostly cloudy there. Clouds will fade off sometime in the afternoon, and then you see some sunshine. Light winds coming from the southeast. You warm up to 8. While in Thompson has dropped below Churchill has dropped below 0 at this time. -1 we see there. Cloudy. The skies will clear as you get into the afternoon with some winds coming from the south. You warm up to about 5 degrees. Tonight we'll see a few clouds, and then lows will be near -2. But Saturday is going to stay sunny but windy. We'll see highs near 8. So across board, Corey, we're looking at sunny across board, starting crisp, but we're going to see most of the regions warm up close to 10 degrees in the south, and up north we'll see temperatures get close to 9 degrees.
Thank you very much, Abby.
Thank you.
That's Abby Adeyemi behind the glass, keeping an eye on your weather. With us in studio now is Sierra Sanders, who is also a newly minted Blue Jays super fan with a fresh Blue Jays jersey on. I understand you just went out to buy that yesterday, right?
Yeah, so I'm currently wearing a Blue Jays shirt that I did go out and buy yesterday. And I wouldn't say a new Blue Jays super fan. I would say I keep up with the Blue Jays casually, but I definitely become more interested and invested as the playoffs continue, because that's personally when I find baseball to be the most interesting, and which has clearly been the case with the Jays and their run that they're having right now. So
was there lots of other people there buying like jerseys like you? Was there like a lineup like just like
There
you?
wasn't a lineup because I think I was lucky. I waited long enough to kind of pass that initial rush of people who were
Yes.
like, "Oh, I need something. I need Jay's something."
Yeah.
So there were a couple people milling about looking for something, but yes, it wasn't super lined up or busy. So I think people who the keeners got them, and then I came in and picked up the scraps, whatever was left. I'll take it.
Yes, I'm sure.
This is my first piece of Jay's wear, so I'm pretty excited about it actually.
Great. Well, and if you're willing to, I know Scott said his heart says Blue Jays will win in Game 7. Do you have any guesses?
I don't know. I mean, as you mentioned earlier, I love an exciting outcome. I was on the edge of my seat for the Game 7 game against the Mariners. I was on the edge of my seat, and then once Springer hit that dinger, oh my goodness, I was jumping up and down, super excited. So I'm here for all the excitement and to see how the Jays go up against this super team Dodgers. You know, I'm excited to see what they bring to the plate.
Very diplomatic answer. So
Thank
you won't give a number. That's fine.
No,
That's fine.
no,
Okay.
I don't want to put my 2 cents in that, especially as a more of a casual baseball fan that I call myself.
That's fair.
Turning to the commute.
Yes, what's going on?
Not too much, actually. It is still quite quiet out there on this Friday commute, which is some good news. But if that's not the case and there is something getting in your way, whether you are here in the city or out on the highways, would love to know what you're seeing so I can let your fellow listeners and commuters know what's going on out there. The phone number to call is 204-788-3093.
Thank you very much, Sierra. That's Sierra Sanders, our studio director. Well, next up here on Information Radio, it's a question almost every teenager dreads. What do you want to do after you graduate high school? With a world full of possibilities, it can be hard to narrow it down, but the University of Manitoba hopes its latest event will help at least a little bit. On Tuesday, it'll be inviting high schoolers and their parents to an open house, and Lisa Kachiluk Babby is a director of student recruitment at the University of Manitoba. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
So tell us more about the fall open house this year. What can people expect?
It's a really great event. In fact, it's probably one of my favorite events of the year. It's an opportunity for prospective students, parents, supporters, and friends to come on out to the University of Manitoba, see our beautiful campus, but most importantly, speak to all of the people that they would need to in order to make a really good decision about what do you want to study, how do you study, what are the supports and services in place, and how do you even get that application in. So it really walks the students through the admission process and gives them an opportunity to feel like, okay, I know what I need to do for my next step and how do I get there?
What's the atmosphere usually like at these kind of events? Is it nervous or like, what's the vibes?
There's a little bit of an excitement. This is a really great opportunity at this time of year to sort of get all your ducks in a row. Students are, not necessarily knowing what to expect. It really depends. I mean, some of the students who come, they have siblings and their parents went through U of M. They have a little bit of an understanding. And on the other side, there's students whose parents maybe didn't go, or they don't have siblings, or they're the first in their family, or maybe they're new to Canada. So they really have a lot of questions, and we're there to help all of them.
And what are some of the main questions that students and their parents often have when they come by?
Yeah, I think there's 3 top questions. One would be, what programs are there and what can I study? How do I apply? And how much is it all going to cost? And are there supports for that? And, especially the program is really the first one. What is the programs? What can I study? And I think, as a high school student, you're taking a limited amount of courses in high school. A high school student has never taken a linguistics course, for example, or maybe they haven't taken a statistics course. There's so many offerings. I mean, we have over 100 programs at U Manitoba. How do you know which one's for you? Well, you explore and try and figure that out. And we're there to answer those questions and have students available. Some professors are there. So students can really understand what a day in the life of a student is like. What does a classroom look like? And of course, with the professors there, what research is available if that's something they're interested in as well.
I know fall is probably like almost might even seem early to some people to start thinking about it, but I guess maybe not. I also know along with this, there's actually early applications that the university does. So what's the benefits of applying early to U of M?
Yeah, we're very excited this year. We have a new application draw for students. We have 10 prizes, 5 for international students, 5 for domestic students. So if you apply early, your name will automatically be entered into that draw for $5,000 tuition prize. So this is a really great opportunity to get that application in. I think that's probably number one, a really great reason to apply early. The second reason is getting an offer sooner. We definitely know that students have a busy year in grade 12 and they're curious. They want to know what's going to happen. What's going to, am I going to get in? These are the kinds of things that we're able to provide a little bit earlier for those who apply early. And on top of that as well, all students who apply by March 1st, which is our general deadline in Manitoba, all of your documents, everything comes directly from the school if you apply early. So it just makes it so easy for the students. Get it off of your plate. Don't worry about your application. We do most of the work from our end, and your schools send us all of your high schools send us all of your transcripts. So all you have to do is do that application online. It takes about 30 minutes. It's really quite easy, and it's mostly just your demographic information, your last name, your first name, where do you go to school, what do you think your grades are going to be this year, and as well as, just your address and information. So easy peasy, get that in, and there's definitely a lot of benefits to doing that. So you could just focus on grade 12, enjoy your final year, and then of course, enjoy your graduation ceremonies that really will come before you even know it.
And before I let you go, if people want to come to the open house, what do they need to know?
Yeah, you can register online. If you forget to register, of course, we'd love to know that you're coming, but please do feel free to stop by. We're at University Center. Parking is available in the queue lot. We're going to have lots and lots and lots of signage, so you don't have to worry about where you need to go. We welcome all students, parents, supporters, and anyone who's interested in coming. And I do want to mention as well that, of course, most of the students joining us are coming from high school, but if you are a student maybe who hasn't been in school for a while, or maybe you're a transfer student, or maybe you're a supporter and you know somebody who's thinking of moving back to Manitoba or moving to Manitoba for the first time, everybody is welcome if they're in town. For those not in town, we also have an online on November the 12th. So we have an online open house for those who can't visit us in person.
Well, Lisa, thanks so much and all the best.
Thank you so much.
Lisa Katchuluk-Babby with the U of M. The fall open house takes place on Tuesday from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the UMSU University Center.
If it happened today, find out today. That's the power of having the news in your hand. Get late-breaking news from reporters across the country, straight to your mobile device. Customize your experience with news from your region and what matters to you. Whether it's big headlines, detailed articles, live events, or on-demand video, CBC News has got you covered. Connect to the world. Download the free CBC News app or visit cbcnews.ca.
Well, next up here on Information Radio, we're continuing our look at the sandwich generation. Those are people who care for both their parents and their own children. According to Statistics Canada, 86% of sandwich caregivers said that their care responsibilities affected at least one aspect of their health and well-being. And today we wanted to see how seniors feel about the issue. Connie Newman is the executive director of the Manitoba Association of Seniors. I spoke with her yesterday after the show. Good morning.
Good morning.
So what goes through your mind when you hear stories about Gen Xers who are taking care of their parents and their own kids at the same time?
First thing that comes to my mind is this has been around for 70 years. I can recall with my own parents and my maternal grandparents, the sandwich generation. My parents were looking after my brother and I. My mom and dad both had 4 siblings, each give or take, and we all lived in the same area of the province. And so the caregiving for my maternal grandparents rested with my mom. My paternal grandparents, one of my dad's siblings, they were living in the same house. So the whole idea of sandwich generation is not new. What is new is our demographics have changed. We are in a society today of single parents, blended families. Some children have 4 sets of grandparents. So all of that fits the sandwich generation. The other thing that's happened in demographic-wise, both parents are working, so that both parents, when one of their parents becomes ill or needs caregiving, you've got the sandwich generation going on. And we really need to look at how we survive as being part of a sandwich generation. It's not new. It's just demographics have changed. The other thing that's happening, a lot of our multicultural families, or families from different cultures, I know today there are 3 or 4 generations living in one house. So it goes back to my grandparents were living on the same street, 6 houses away. So caregiving and sandwich generation is not new. What's new is we're working 18-hour days. We're looking after children, taking children to hockey, soccer, all of those kinds of things. When I grew up, we went to a local community club on our own. We can't get there on our own now for safety reasons generally. So we really need to look at the sandwich generation needs to figure out how they take care of themselves so they can take care of the young ones and the older ones.
So for yourself, you have kids yourself, is that right?
I have a daughter that's 52.
Okay, and what kind of conversations have you had with your daughter about, maybe as you grow older, may need more care? What her responsibility is in that? Is that something she's broached with you or you've broached with her? How have you been navigating that?
She is now living with me because of situations. She's got a full-time job. She's got a very good job. But she watches me because I'm now caregiving for 2 people out in the community. 5-6 years ago, I was caring for 2 other people. So she's watched me on a daily basis take care of those people's needs until their end comes. She knows what I want. She knows I've talked to her about this, where I want to be. I've put money aside, so the insurance policy, so that I can buy my own caregiving, or she can buy my caregiving for me to remain at home. And it's important that all the listeners have those conversations now when we're healthy, because we are going to not be healthy one day.
And how often, it sounds like you've had a lot of, put a lot of thought into it, and you've had those conversations. When you talk to other seniors, are other seniors having those conversations too, or are a lot of people putting that off? Because it is a sensitive topic for a lot of people, for sure.
In fact, in the last couple of days, I've talked to 2 different older adults, and they're scared. They're really scared because they're in a position where their family's not here. Their family, which is another, families living not in the same neighborhood, not even in the same province. So who do they go to, or who is their power of attorney, and where do you need help? And that's an important conversation for all older adults to have. Who's their power of attorney? Who's the person that's going to make the decisions for them?
What's your advice to people who are navigating that right now? Because it might feel like a bit of a game of chicken for people, for the children of the aging parent and the parent themselves. Who broaches the conversation? Maybe this is a deep philosophical question, but whose responsibility is it to bring that up and say, hey, here's how you need, here's how care should take place?
My immediate thought, it's me. It's the older adult. What happens is we leave it too long. I'm a real proponent of I make my decisions for my body in healthcare, in activity, in taking care of me. What is happening out there, people are not having those conversations till an event happens. And then you're caught between a rock and a hard place. So, and families are not large entities anymore. There's 2 or 3 people in a family. And pick your favorite family person that you can have a conversation with. Go to the coffee shop or go someplace where you can have a private conversation of sorts. Talk. And what we don't do today is we don't talk. I've had those conversations with my daughter. Everybody needs to do it. It's my body. It's my decision. I need to initiate the conversation. And hopefully all the listeners have that person they can initiate the conversation with. And it starts with, who's your power of attorney? Because what I see happening out there, too many people wait till the event happens. And we've got people in hospital beds right now that they didn't have that conversation.
Another big thing is that there's a big societal factor to this too. It's not necessarily just between the parent and the kid. There's a lot of boomers, outsized amount of boomers that are starting to age. And that leaves that smaller Gen X generation, puts a lot of extra pressure maybe than it did 70 years ago, as you mentioned, right? So when, maybe there's policymakers, people who make decisions for hospitals, things like that, when they're thinking about how best to accommodate this, people as they age, what do you think needs to happen in the coming years?
I would say it needs to happen right now. The boomer generation is here. The silver tsunami is here. We knew 15 years ago we were going to get caught in whatever we call it today. And policymakers, government, labor, unions, anybody dealing in human resources has to take a look at that person that is a caregiver. First question is, all your staff, do you know if anybody's in a sandwich generation? I mean, we're all as we grow up, if we've got kids, we're caregivers. You become part of the sandwich generation when a parent then needs your help. People in the hiring position need to be flexible, need to allow for doctor's appointments, those kinds of things. Does everybody have to work their fair share of hours? Absolutely. But you need to provide opportunities for flex hours or makeup time so that you are working for X number of hours, whatever it is. But to me, flexible hours right across all sectors, healthcare, government, all of them need to create human resource policies that allow for flex time.
Well, Connie, thanks for your time this morning. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It was good to be here.
That's Connie Newman. She's Executive Director of the Manitoba Association of Seniors. I spoke with her yesterday. And if you are part of the sandwich generation, if you are someone who is caring for an aging parent, or if you are an aging parent who is wondering about how will I get cared for, maybe you don't have someone to care for you and you're wondering what to do, we want to hear from you. Give us a call. You can leave it on our list line, 204-788-3205. That's 204-788-3205. You can also email us at radio893@cbc.ca. 7:58 right now. Let's check in with Heather Wells with a look at news headlines.
Good morning. Well, a Manitoba-born doctor who has spent more than 2 decades working in the U.S. will soon be treating patients on this side of the border. Arlie Traynor will start working in Brandon's emergency department in February. She's just one of 10 doctors who have registered in Manitoba since Donald Trump was elected in the U.S. The province will see one of the biggest increases ever this year in American doctors moving north. Have you had your measles shot? A physician with Manitoba Health's immunization program is urging people to get vaccinated against measles. Dr. Devinder Singh says measles cases are still steady and more vaccination is needed to limit the spread. I'll be back with more Manitoba news at 8:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
Still to come here on Information Radio, we find out why more people are looking to invest in silver and gold. We're going to chat with a local precious metals dealer coming up after World Report. You're listening to CBC Radio here on CBC Radio 1. I'm Corey Funkin from Marcy Marcusa. See you after World Report.
Christian McBride is one of the greatest living jazz bassists. He's worked with everyone from Chaka Khan to Celine Dion to Paul McCartney. He'll be here to talk about his life in music, almost reuniting the Police and playing with the great Miles Davis when he was just a teenager.
The man was known for being pretty harsh with his opinions.
Q with Tom Power, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current with Matt Galloway.
Mike Finnerty loved his job as a morning show host on CBC Radio in Montreal, but looking for something new brought him into the world of cheese. What Mike Finnerty learned about people and about himself through selling cheese, coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm Ithel Musa. Donald Trump appears to have dealt a blow to the Canada-U.S. trade relationship. In a late-night post on social media, he declared he's terminating all talks. Trump has taken exception to an anti-tariff advertisement by the Ontario government running on U.S. networks that features former President Ronald Reagan.
When someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time.
The CBC's Chris Reyes is in New York. Chris, what more can you tell me about this ad that has upset Trump so much?
So the Ronald Reagan Foundation came out last night taking issue with Ontario's ad. The foundation posted on social media that this ad misrepresents that speech, that the Ontario government didn't ask for permission to use it, that they're considering legal action. Well, just a few hours later, Ithel, President Donald Trump used that reason to abruptly end all trade talks with Canada. On Truth Social, he called Ontario's ad fake, called Canada's actions egregious, and accused Canada of trying to interfere with the Supreme Court and other courts which are considering challenges to Trump's tariffs. Now, the ad directly takes audio from Reagan's 1987 speech, and there's no evidence it's been altered in any way. However, it does only use about a minute of a 5-minute speech and doesn't use the part in which Reagan talks about reluctantly putting tariffs on Japanese goods. Now, there's a reason that Ontario may have used this particular speech. In it, Reagan speaks to warm relations with Canada on trade.
That message of free trade is one I conveyed to Canada's leaders a few weeks ago, and it was warmly received there. Indeed, throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition.
So far, no comment from the Prime Minister's office.
Chris, what will this mean for the U.S. trade relationship with Canada?
The big difference here is that this is the first time that President Trump has abruptly announced cutting all talks. Prime Minister Mark Carney was just in Washington earlier this month. The two leaders were very friendly despite not making any announcements on trade deals. But both sides have always agreed to keep talking. Even when Trump and Carney are not directly talking, there has been continuous communication and visits between their teams. The big question now with this new directive is, will all of that stop?
The CBC's Chris Reyes in New York. Thank you.
Thank you.
In a post on social media last hour, Premier Doug Ford wrote in part, quote, Canada and the United States are friends, neighbors, and allies. President Ronald Reagan knew that we are stronger together. Well, Blue Jays fever is gripping the country this morning, more than 30 years after the last time the team made it to the World Series. They are taking on defending champion, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Game 1 of the series is set to take place tonight. The CBC's Linda Ward is covering all the excitement. Linda, set up the game for us.
Tonight is the night that the Jays, the Dodgers, and their fans are all going to get a look at what this matchup is going to look like. Rookie Trey Yesavage gets the start for the Toronto Blue Jays, 22 years old, the second youngest pitcher to get the start for Game 1, and he's got a big job ahead of him, striking out superstar Shohei Ohtani, taking down the defending champions, the LA Dodgers. He was asked how he's getting ready for tonight.
I'm pretty meat and potatoes with it. Just keep it basic. I don't want to be out there on the mound thinking too much because for me, I'm at best when I'm just blacked out there and not thinking at all.
Now, Blue Jays manager John Schneider says he has confidence in Yesavage and he's not buying into this underdog narrative going into tonight's game.
Man, there's a reason we're here and there's a reason they're there. I think the one thing we cannot do is look over there and say that is Goliath. That is a beatable baseball team.
So, Linda, what are the Dodgers saying about the matchup?
Well, they are pretty confident. They're used to fall ball. The Dodgers have made it to every postseason since 2013. The last time the Jays met the Dodgers took the series 2-1. But Toronto had the highest batting average in the regular season, got on base more consistently than any team. We heard from Shohei Ohtani himself, who spoke through a translator, and he's not counting the Jays out either.
The Blue Jays are the team with the most momentum, and they're also very talented.
And the Jays may have a secret weapon we haven't seen yet in the postseason. Injured shortstop Bo Bichette. We're still waiting to get that final lineup to find out if he will play. But yesterday he said he'll be ready and he wants to be a part of it.
The CBC's Linda Ward in Toronto. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Volodymyr Zelensky is in the UK for a meeting with key allies. The Ukrainian president reviews an honor guard with King Charles. Prime Minister Keir Starmer is hosting a session of the Coalition of the Willing. Canada is among the more than 24 countries supporting Ukraine's war effort. Starmer is expected to push them for stronger measures to force Russia to end the war. Discussions will reportedly include providing Ukraine with more long-range missiles. China's Communist Party is ramping up its technological rivalry with the United States. It just concluded a 4-day meeting mapping out the country's priorities for the next 5 years. The CBC's Lisa Xing has more.
As the Central Committee of China's ruling Communist Party wraps its 4th plenum, the party elite have mapped out the country's social and economic development for the next 5 years. In a communiqué released following the 4-day meeting, the party vowed to speed up self-reliance in technology and accelerate the country's green transition, key parts of its goals in its rivalry with the United States. In the past, these types of policies have cemented China's dominance in electric vehicle technology and rare earth minerals mining. The goals for the next 5 years are surely to draw the ire of U.S. President Donald Trump, says Jonathan Zinn, former China director for the U.S. National Security Council.
Even though that's going to inflame trade tensions with the U.S. and other countries, I think that she, number one, doesn't see that the resistance to it has been very meaningful. Number two, I think that he thinks even if there is a cost to pay, this is still the right path for China's economy.
Without naming Trump, the party said China faces profound and complex changes and increasing uncertainty. This message comes as Trump and Xi are slated to meet on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit next week, and as trade tensions have flared up again amidst a tenuous truce in Trump's trade war. Lisa Xing, CBC News, Toronto.
Experts are warning people not to take medical advice they see on TikTok. A CBC Marketplace investigation revealed misinformation found on the app is getting worse and it can be fatal. Asha Tomlinson explains.
It still angers me that you see that level of misleading content.
Misinformation expert Timothy Caulfield is very concerned with the level of false and misleading health claims showing up on TikTok. We searched the platform to find videos about autism and cancer, then analyzed 200 of them served up to us featuring a cure or treatment. 80% of the content was not backed by solid science, and some videos featured dangerous therapies.
I've had patients in the past before they got to me who had severe speech delay that made great strides.
These questionable TikToks included this chiropractor promoting chelation therapy for autism. It's an IV treatment that removes heavy metals from the body.
Heavy metals are not a contributor to autism.
Autism researcher and pediatrician Dr. Melanie Penner warns against it.
There is a risk of death that comes with these treatments. We absolutely recommend against these treatments.
And there's a popular clip of actor Mel Gibson on Joe Rogan's podcast.
I have 3 friends. All 3 of them had stage 4 cancer. All 3 of them don't have cancer right now at all.
And what did they take? Ivermectin?
Fenbendazole.
And fenbendazole, yeah.
Ivermectin is an antiparasitic drug, fenbendazole a dog dewormer. Some accounts also discredit conventional treatment. Oncologist Dr. Abha Gupta.
No, it's complete garbage. There is no merit.
Mel Gibson and the chiropractor had no response. TikTok says it takes action when content violates its rules and warns users not to rely on it for medical advice. Most of the videos we flagged have now been taken down. Asha Tomlinson, CBC News, Toronto.
That's the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Idil Musa. This is CBC News.
Good morning, Manitoba. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, and everywhere on the CBC Manitoba YouTube page. I'm Corey Funk. Go Jays. Coming up this half hour on the show, demand is up for precious metals. And coming up, we're going to find out why more people are looking to invest in silver and gold. We're going to hear from a local precious metals dealer. That's coming up first here on the show. But also, just ahead, you may want to sell some gold if you want to buy Jays tickets. People are shelling out thousands for those tickets. We're going to hear from CBC's Blair Sanderson, who explores what goes into people's decisions to spend so much on experiences that quickly become only a memory. That's all coming up here on Information Radio. Stay tuned. 8:11 right now, and let's check in with Heather Wells with a look at news headlines.
Good morning. Well, Manitoba's healthcare system is getting a significant injection of U.S. physicians. Dr. Arlie Traynor arrives in Brandon's ER in February. She currently works as an ER physician in South Dakota. Traynor was born in Manitoba. She has family here and says she loves that the brain drain is going the other way. The mother of a woman killed in a highway crash near Portage la Prairie says bail reform will save lives. The federal government has tabled its bill, making it harder for violent and repeat offenders to be released. We're going to hear more from Michelle Best coming up in our next local news at 8:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That's Heather Wells at our CBC News desk. Abby Adeyemi is our studio technician. He's also keeping an eye on your weather. What's going on?
We're already seeing the sunshine outside, and that's what the situation will be for most of the southern regions. That would continue all day, and it's going to spread into tomorrow, Saturday, where we'll be seeing like temperatures in the range of 16s and 18s. But right now, Winnipeg, we are hovering around 1 and 2 degrees in the city. Clear outside, lots of sunshine on its way. We see temperatures warm up to about 10 degrees later tonight, and we're heading for a warm Saturday, a high near 16. Across the south, Brandon still at 0, Dauphin at -1, Gimli 2 degrees right now. All going to be enjoying sunshine. Sunshine will dominate the day with just light breeze. Highs will climb to 10 and 12 degrees for those regions, while up north, we're still seeing temperatures around 0 and 2 degrees. We'll see temperatures climb to 8 or 9 degrees later. So it's more like a gorgeous fall Friday spreading into Saturday right here on my, looking at the numbers in front of me. Plenty of sunshine to go around today. Winnipeg, we are at 2 degrees right now, and we're warming up to 10.
Thank you very much, Abby.
Thank you.
Well, and Sierra Sanders is here with Look at the Commute. Hello.
Hello, Corey. Still a quiet commute out there, which I guess is some good Friday news today. Not hearing about any major incidents or backups right now here in the city or out there on the highways. But I also wanted to mention that the final regular season Bomber home game is tomorrow. So expect some heavier traffic down by Princess Auto Stadium there around the University of Manitoba and surrounding streets. It does get pretty busy there along game days. And it is also another sold out game. So expect heavier traffic there and plan your day around that if you do plan or are in the area there. If anything pops up, we still have a little bit of time in the show. Give me a call on the CBC commuter line. I'd love to let folks know what you are seeing out there. You can give me a call at 204-788-3093.
Well, next on the show, the price of gold and silver reached an all-time high this month. Gold reached more than $4,000 US per troy ounce. That's the measurement used when weighing precious metals. And silver went above $50 US. And despite the high price, demand for these precious metals has been up, with more people looking to buy coins and bars. And Jasmine Allen is vice president of Gate West Coin in Winnipeg, which specializes in buying and selling coins. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So what have you been seeing lately at your shop when it comes to people wanting to buy?
Definitely a lot of interest lately. There's been huge lineups every day with people looking to purchase gold and silver. Gold certainly had a lot of interest this past week because of Diwali, and silver has continuously had higher interest than usual.
And so did it always peak around this time of year for Diwali?
Diwali, yes, we do get quite the peak for gold interest. Yes.
And you think that when the prices are high, maybe people might almost sometimes maybe the instinct you'd think maybe it might even be to hold off, maybe because maybe they want to wait till maybe it dips or something. Well, why are you hearing from people about why they're coming to buy now? Is the expectation that it's only going to keep going up and up and up?
We do have some people that expect it to continue going up. There are certainly some people that like to hold off and wait for the price to drop. There is certainly a lot of volatility in the markets right now, so we're seeing huge ups, huge downs, much more than we usually do in normal markets. So there's certainly something for everybody. For buyers that like to wait to see a dip, that has been happening. But gold specifically lately has been up 53% just this year.
And what do you know about why it's seeing such a rise right now?
There's so much that affects precious metals. A lot of it has to do with stock markets, political volatility. Our friend Trump to the south here is certainly a large factor as well.
So is it the more essentially like the kind of the basic kind of rules, the more volatile things are, actually the higher precious metals gets? Is that why? Because it's seen as more of a stable investment? Is that the kind of rough kind of concept?
Yes, generally when there's instability in stock markets or in political environments, people do tend to gravitate towards gold and silver and precious metals for stability.
And when is the last time you've seen this kind of demand? Is this unprecedented for you, or did you see this? When is the last time it's been like this for you?
We did see quite a silver and gold run during the COVID period. There was quite a shortage of precious metals during that time. We're seeing another shortage now.
And there's something called a short right now. Can you explain what that means and how that might impact the price?
Generally, when products are more difficult to get, you will see demand increase because there's more media attention around it. We get a lot more attention in people purchasing precious metals, and then prices generally will go up in response to there being more demand than there is supply.
So what does that mean in terms of people wanting to sell? Like how many people are coming in to sell their stuff right now?
We're certainly getting a lot of people coming in to sell as well. Generally speaking, we're seeing more people selling off their scrap silver and scrap gold jewelry, coins and whatnot than we are seeing people selling bullion. But we do get a lot of people coming in to sell their bullion, their investment, the pure metals as well.
And it's a lot of people just rings and things like that. I mean, like what? I mean, and maybe it's I'm guessing it's a range. But if someone comes in with a kind of a gold classic, just maybe a gold band, what is that kind of netting them these days?
It's really hard to say because rings can vary so much. It depends on the carat of the piece that you have. It depends on the weight. But we can have, a single ring piece varying from something that is very small and thin, which is maybe $60 in value, to something that is large, thick. That can be several $100s, $500, $600, $700.
So there's no way to predict obviously what could happen in the future with prices. But what have you been hearing about where the prices are going to be heading in the next weeks and months?
It's very hard to predict. We have been hearing both ways. Some people's opinion is that this bubble is going to pop and prices are going to reduce to what we've seen maybe in the previous years. We've had other people saying they can see silver going up to $100 or $200 US an ounce within the next year. Within weeks and months, it is completely impossible to predict where it's going to go.
Before I let you go here, I mean, for yourself, what got you into the gold and silver precious metals business? Why do you do what you do?
Well, I do what I do because we have a charity that's associated with Gate West here, and all of our profits go towards Manitoba charities. I originally got into the business actually because my husband was working with Gate West, and I started here back in 2012, and I never left.
Well, thanks for taking some time to kind of break this down for us and how it's all working. Really appreciate your time, Jasmine.
Thank you.
That's Jasmine Allen. She's vice president of Gate West Coin.
We carry a world of information in our pockets because we want to know. It's news you can trust, delivered when you want and where you want on Canada's news app. Now with CBC Radio 1, local and live. Download the CBC News app for free.
Right now, it's 8:20 here on Information Radio. And next up on the show, as you've been hearing in the news, the U.S. President Donald Trump says he is ending trade talks with Canada over an anti-tariff ad by the Ontario government running on U.S. networks. The ad features the voice of former U.S. President Ronald Reagan calling tariffs a bad thing. Here's a little bit of what that sounds like.
When someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. But over the long run, such trade barriers hurt every American worker and consumer. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation.
That is the voice of Ronald Reagan that's featured in an ad paid for by Ontario that was airing throughout the U.S. this past week. Trump posted on Truth Social late last night that he's ordered a halt in trade talks with Canada based on that ad. CBC's David Common spoke with Ian Lee, professor at the Sprott School of Business at Carleton University, for his reaction.
I'm not shocked. We know he's very thin-skinned. We know he is capricious. Of course, I don't agree with the decision, but he didn't ask me. But I do want to deal with the larger issue. It's funny, just because I've read a lot over my life, American history, Canadian history, I immediately, for some reason, it just popped into my head. In 1965, then Prime Minister Lester Pearson went to the United States and gave a speech at an American university criticizing the U.S.-Vietnam War. President Johnson asked him to come down to the ranch in Texas, and this was widely reported in the media. Lyndon Johnson was 6'5" and Pearson was about 5'5", and he picked Pearson up apparently physically and held him in front of his face. And he says, "I don't want you coming down into my country and peeing in my backyard." End quote. Not my words. That's in the brilliant biography by Robert Caro, who won the Pulitzer. So I'm not trying to excuse Donald Trump. That's not my point. We took an ad of an famous American politician, which was Ronald Reagan. And we are running ads, not me, you, but we, Canada, are running ads in the United States, criticizing and condemning the United States to American voters about an American leader. And, I'm not sure, I don't believe that it's our role to go into and enter into American politics. For those who think are already enraged by what I'm saying, just reverse it. Imagine the American government and Trump were running ads on Canadian television condemning either Premier Ford or Prime Minister Carney. I think most Canadians would be understandably and legitimately livid and very angry. So I think it was a mistake. I'm not trying to say that I predicted that Trump would abrogate the trade negotiations, but I just don't think it's prudent for any leader of any country or a subnational major leader, like a premier of a major province, to involve themselves in the politics of another country in that country.
That's Ian Lee, professor at the Sprott School of Business at Carleton University. Stay tuned throughout the day. We will be chasing local reaction of what this halt in trade talks, or I guess termination of trade talks, according to the president's words, means for Manitoba. Stay tuned to our programs throughout the day. We'll be getting as much local reaction as we can. Well, 8:23 right now here on Information Radio. And next up, of course, tonight is Game 1 of the World Series. And the steep price for Blue Jays tickets is getting a lot of attention right now. A pair of seats in the nosebleeds at the Rogers Center can easily exceed $3,000 on the secondary market. It's a lot of money. But then again, this is a once-in-a-generation experience. And of course, not everyone is a baseball fan. And that got CBC's Blair Sanderson wondering what else people are willing to blow the bank on. He hit the streets to find out.
Hello.
Hello.
What are you willing to spend money on no matter what?
Plane tickets.
I would say definitely travel.
Travel. Because you can't put a price on memories.
For me, it's about experiences, particularly family experiences. So I'm thinking Disneyland, Disney World. It's part of it's an escapism from your day-to-day grind. And, when we're old and we can say, oh, remember when, and it's these experiences that bring us together.
Well, I mean, the current thing that I am actively spending on quite a lot despite the cost is university, which has sort of been my all-consuming cost in the last few years. So.
What is it that you're studying?
I'm studying architecture, actually.
So you want to be an architect?
I do indeed. And so regardless of sort of the cost, so long as I'm able to pay it, I will, just so I can sort of go and do that work that I want to do.
Definitely my cats. You'd be amazed how quickly the money goes when you have cats.
Anything that my dog needs, supplies, food, toys, treats, and it doesn't matter the price, but I'll skip out on buying a $20 shirt for myself.
You'll spend more on your dog's clothing than your clothes?
Yes.
I have actually sold something that belonged to me in order to afford to buy a giant cat tree for my cats.
Taylor Swift tickets. Did it last year and go again in a minute.
How much were they?
$500 last year.
So why is it worth spending so much money on something like that?
I think it was just spend the time with my daughters that was more special than going to the concert.
You're basically just sort of buying your daughter's love.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, I'm a bit of a foodie, and if I'm in a place and someone tells me that this is local, it's authentic, it's the best in the area, I will buy it.
What is it about food that just so easily allows you to part with your money?
Oh, I just love eating. But it's also, there's just this complete sensation experience. It's almost all of your senses, right? It's taste, smell, touch, just transports you.
But it's so fleeting, right? That the food is swallowed and the money is gone.
Yeah, isn't that ironic? Well, I also used to be a professional cake decorator, and that was the same thing. You'd create this pièce de résistance, and it gets devoured. It's gone. All you have left is the photos to remember it by.
Golf. I would spend a lot of money to go on a golf trips with my 3 brothers and my dad. It's about the experience. Money comes, money goes, There's nothing better than getting out with people you love and playing the thing you love. It's my favorite thing to do.
Dodgers baseball.
Dodgers baseball?
Exactly. World Series, baby.
I'm sorry, where are you from?
Los Angeles.
You're on holiday right now?
Yes. I'm going to spend more than I normally would. So, it's not quite a once-in-a-lifetime thing, because hopefully this will be a second year in a row for us, but I didn't get to go last time.
That's right, it's not even a once-in-a-lifetime thing, not even once in a generation.
No, not for us.
Well, I'd say good luck, but I wouldn't mean it.
I understand.
But thank you for talking to me.
Certainly.
That was CBC's Blair Sanderson talking to people about what they'll spend money on no matter what the cost. So think about that, what could mean for myself. Marjorie Dowhouse is in with us here. Marjorie, I don't want to put you on the spot, but what would that be for you?
Anything to do with sports. I'm a huge sports fan.
So you got Jays tickets tonight then?
I wish I did. I can't afford it. Not only that, I've got a young one that might be needing his mommy's attention.
Yeah, and they drain your bank account in their own way too, mostly on goldfish crackers and diapers.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll spend all the money first on my child, and then the sports stuff.
Yeah. There we go. Exactly. There we go. You are in today because you are hosting, of course, Radio Noon. And what's the call-in?
So this week is Small Business Week in Canada, and a lot of small businesses have some challenges that they're facing right now, but they also should be celebrated. It's not easy running a small business. So we want to invite you to call in on Radio Noon and give a shout out to a small business that you know. Maybe you're a small business owner and there's a story that you want to share with people. So today we're talking about small business in Manitoba, in Canada. So give us a call after 12:30 on Radio Noon and give a shout out or share your story.
I imagine there must also be some small business owners who saw the news about the U.S. trade talks being terminated by Donald Trump, who are probably thinking, "Oi, this might make a difference for me," especially if they're trying to, if they're impacted by exporting down south. So,
and we're going to talk a little bit about that during the call-in, because obviously small business affected by global trade, but also we're hoping to get a little bit more reaction to this latest development with the United States coming up on noon.
Yes, well, every small business I know has a story as a former business reporter. So call in, tell your story, share it. And if you are don't have time at 12:30 because you're running a business, you can leave a message on the listener line, the Radio Noon listener line, 204-788-3797. That's 204-788-3797, and share your story. Thank you very much, Marge.
Thanks, Corey.
That's Marjorie Dowhouse. She's hosting Radio Noon today, at noon. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. You're listening to not Radio Noon, Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1. I'm Corey Funk, in for Marcy Marcusa. Your CBC Winnipeg News is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg at 8:30. The sun is shining. It is 2 degrees. We're going to keep climbing to 10 this afternoon, a little bit on the breezy side, windy and warmer for the weekend. A Manitoba-born doctor who has spent more than 2 decades working in the U.S. will soon be treating patients on this side of the border. Arlie Traynor will start working in Brandon's emergency department in February. She did her medical training in the U.S. and has worked as an emergency doctor in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She says Trump administration policies and a chance to work in Canada's universal healthcare system were factors in this move.
The greatest advantage right now is I love that the brain drain is going the other way and that we're hearing how wonderful the Canadian system is and that people are seeing that in the U.S. and seeing how you can come across.
The province will see one of the biggest increases ever this year in American doctors moving north. 10 have registered in Manitoba since Trump was elected. Another 8 are in the process of coming. A physician with Manitoba's health immunization program is urging people to get vaccinated against measles. Recent data from the province shows from the start of February to October 11th, there were 245 probable or confirmed measles infections. Nearly 90% of those were in people who had not been immunized. Dr. Devinder Singh says measles cases in this province are still steady and more vaccination is needed to limit the spread.
Vast majority of people are protected against measles, but there's enough people that are not protected that because the virus is so infectious, it will spread unless, you have a really high level of protection in the population.
Since Manitoba's measles outbreak began in February, 15 people have been hospitalized. 2 have required intensive care. The province says no deaths have been reported. A Manitoba mother is welcoming the federal government's overhaul of bail laws. Michelle Best's daughter, Kelly Verwey, was killed near Portage la Prairie by an alleged drunk driver with a history of breaching bail. She says a new bill imposing tougher conditions will save lives in the future.
We need perpetual violent offenders to stay in jail until their trial date. And I get the whole innocent until proven guilty, but I guess my big question is how many times, though? How many times do we get to make the same mistake?
The bill, tabled in Parliament yesterday, will make it so people accused of some crimes must prove in court they deserve to be released. The bill also introduces harsher sentences for asking courts to take harder lines on violent and repeat offenders. U.S. President Donald Trump says he is ending all trade negotiations with Canada. This morning, Trump accusing the country of trying to influence an upcoming U.S. Supreme Court ruling on the future of his tariffs through a TV ad. Ontario paid millions for an ad campaign featuring former U.S. President Ronald Reagan speaking about tariffs in 1987 to air across multiple American TV stations. Donald Trump saw that ad on TV, and that is when he started his talk on social media about ending trade talks with Canada. Now, Ronald Reagan's foundation says this ad misrepresents the address, and Ontario did not get permission to use and edit the remarks. Premier Doug Ford's office says the commercial uses an unedited excerpt from a public address available through public domain. Manitoba's ombudsman has exonerated the former mayor of East St. Paul in a revised report about a conflict of interest complaint against the current mayor. The report takes another look at an East St. Paul council meeting in 2022. During that meeting, Councillor Carla Devlin, now the mayor of East St. Paul, took part in a vote about refunding $210,000 worth of fees to a developer. That developer used a Devlin-owned company as a contractor. In an original report last year, the Ombudsman found Devlin acted on advice from Shelley Hart, the mayor, in 2022. In its new report, the Ombudsman found that conversation never happened. Well, Game 1 of this year's World Series goes tonight in Toronto. It is the Blue Jays against the defending champion LA Dodgers, who are heavily favored by most baseball pundits. The Dodger lineup includes at least 3 future Hall of Famers, including Japanese superstar Shohei Ohtani. But Blue Jay manager John Schneider refuses to be intimidated.
That is a beatable baseball team that has its flaws and that has its really, really good strengths. How we expose each of them will determine who wins the series. I'll say it till the day I die. I'll put this group of 26 up against anybody.
Over the course of their storied history, the Dodger franchise has won 8 World Series titles. The Blue Jays have won 2 championships. Game time tonight is at 7 o'clock Central Time.
Oh,
you can
boy.
find more news updated throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Oh, I got so excited there. I just stepped on you. The Go Jays.
I know. Hey, you'll be watching, right?
Oh, yes, I'll be watching. I'll be hosting, actually, there's an event I'm hosting tonight, but I'm sure we'll be giving updates throughout the event. So
nice.
Shout out to everyone who's doing Wave of Light tonight at Jubilee Place, the world premiere of a special concert.
That sounds great.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who helped put together the shows this week. Abby Adeyemi, Sierra Sanders, Chidi Akuma, May McKillop, Marshall Hodgins, Jennifer Bedasso, Sofia Peralta Baron, Dylan Longhurst, Chloe Friesen, Bruce Layden. Our Sierra reporters are Shanley Vidal, Jim Agapito. Our hosts are Nadia Kidwai, Marjorie Dowhouse, and Faith Fundal, and Marcy Marcusa. Darren Bernhardt in our news department alongside Aaron Broman, Megan Ketchison, and Heather Wells. Our YouTube producer is Darren Morash. Nelly Gonzalez is the show producer of Current Affairs, and Leif Larson is the senior producer of audio. Abby, quick weather.
Yeah, the south warming up nicely. Winnipeg hitting 10 degrees while Brandon gets to 12. Up north, we're going to see 5 in Churchill and 9 around Thompson.
Thank you very much, Abby. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I'm Corey Funk, in today for Marcy Marcusa. The Current is next. Go Jays.